Welcome to Comic Book Creation Live, number 27. What's going on, buddy?
Hey,
You there?
hello, how are you?
You.
Good to see you.
Star, creator of Diamond Dragons. Tonight you're the Diamond Dragon.
I figured I'd switch it up a little, right? Right? Because I'm sure later if we ever have any other folks on the show. And by the way, thousands are watching, so I'm glad if you're joining now because that way you'll get in on the craziness and the what. Like, dude, you don't want to be overwhelmed. Get on here. Like, if you're not watching right now, but I guess you are because if you're listening to me, then it means you must be watching. That. Where have you been, son? Where have you been?
Get in early. Get in early.
Get in early.
Diamond Dragons early. Get in on Albatross Junction early.
Before it's all sold out and that's it. And you can't get all the extra bonuses. No, but seriously, yeah, I figured I'd mix it up because the last times the icon was more, the Saber stuff related, and then I at least could show this temporary logo, which I designed, and in the background is this wonderful drawing that my artist. Concept artist Claudia Bezak did, and she's just wonderful. So if everybody learns about her name, I guess I'd have to spell it at one point, but you can go find out on the site. But then, awesome. Figure mix it up.
I almost see a little FX Sabres logo influence in the diamonds word.
Nah, I'm not certain
bit with
of that.
The coloring, right?
Yeah, no, and it's funny too. A lot of people have been like, and I don't mind at all talking about this. Everybody's like, you overdid it, and I'm like, I know, like I'm not a professional logo designer, but the time that if I tried to get so many different people, it just didn't. People get busy. I don't know, it didn't work out, and I'm not trying to get people to do it for free. In fact, I kept telling everybody, yeah, like I'll pay you the going rate. Like I've seen that, a logo can be anywhere from $300 to like $800, something like that. So it's like a fair, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, hey, will you do this for $10?
Yeah.
Even though some people say go to Fiverr. I'm like, no, I don't want to do a janky logo, man. I want to be like, dude,
thank you. Thank you for keeping that in mind. Cause I'm a graphic designer. So yeah, I don't like that stuff like Fiverr and all that. I think that devalues it, don't you think?
I agree, and I would say in all fairness, Fiverr has been like the site's name is totally a clickbait. You know what I mean? Like, right? Like as far as I'm understanding,
it's not really $5. Or
no, like in other words, some things are probably $5. They're like, hey, if you want me to show a quick clip of me waving a Q-tip in the air, $5. But if someone's like, hey, I need you to design a 3D object or something, I seriously doubt anyone's like $5. Like good luck. Like I don't know how anyone would live. Like you can't live that way. It's impossible. Like imagine how much time you'd spend if you were doing any kind of serious graphic design and you were doing it for a flat rate of $5.
Ooh.
What would you be able to create?
You can't eat, like I always tell people when they say
right.
This will take you 5 minutes. That's like a lot of what, and you might hear it too regarding, different things that you do. Like maybe someone wants something done with sounds, and they're like, come on, all I want is a boot sound. It'll just take you 5 minutes.
Yeah. And in some ways they're right. In some ways they can write, but no, put it this way.
If the tools work with you, if the computer turns on smoothly and all that, sometimes you go to turn on the computer and you're stuck for 2 hours, like fixing something, updating something, whatever. So nothing's really 5 minutes.
But it's not even that. It's more important because then someone will still argue at a certain point, well, if this does take, like, to make a boot sound isn't that hard, so that's fine. But that's not the point. And this phrase that I'm about to pull out, like as soon as I say it, you're going to be like, yup. It's like there's this famous little thing where it's like, this dude steps into some big corporate guy's office and he's like, hey, make me a logo. And he's like, okay. And then he goes away and he comes back, and an hour later he's like, oh, what, this is great, like I can't believe you are so fast. And he's all, yeah, that will be $2,500 or something. He's like, what, God, in God's name, why? Like $2,500 an hour, that's an amazing going rate. I should have been an artist or something, but I couldn't pay for that. Why would you charge me so much money? The guy said, because it only took you an hour. And the guy of course responds, because you're not just paying for that hour of my time. You're paying for the time, study, effort, and discipline and consistency that it took me to deliver this product in a timely fashion that just so happened to be an hour.
Right.
And it's like, how important is that to artists? I would say crucially, because just because I can do something in an hour that you can't, like, you know, let's say it takes you 10, does that somehow mean that you should pay me for only that hour? Or is it not really about time? It's more about all of these combined efforts. So when people say, what do you charge per hour? Hey, Kevin in the house. What?
Kevin, what's going on?
What up?
What's
up? Happening, fellas?
We've got some artists in the house, son. Anthony,
we were just talking about how, you know, Fiverr and people charging a low amount for graphics and other work. And
right.
Yeah. I mean, I sold logos for $200.
Oh,
same damn
thing. Damn. Because that is pretty low. Thing. Yeah.
That's low as hell. Yeah, that's low as hell.
To eat.
Very low. Yeah.
Man, and you get those guys that are like, yo, all I need is a circle with an A in it, green and a blue background, and my mother's medallion in the background. And you're like, all right, I'll do that in 2 hours.
Right. But also, I always love that too when people are like Anthony was just making that comment, the whole, hey, it'll take you 5 minutes. And I'm like, you do it. Don't even tell me what to do. You can't talk if you haven't even done this once. So get out of my court, bro. Like, it's bad when people do that. Like, even I'm serious. Like, he was even telling me, you know, like, hey, don't you think you have any examples? And I'm like, sure. Like with the live Empire Strikes Back fight recreation that I did live on stage for the first time in the entire world, which was in 2014. Oh man, you wouldn't believe how many people were like, you know, what you should have done is if I were you, I would, it wasn't that expensive. You could have done. And did you know that there's why didn't you? And I'm like, you do it. Don't even tell me what to do. Like, seriously, like, you can't talk if you haven't done it even once. And part of it was, there are things in life that you could say, okay, clearly this person has done other things before. But here's the thing. I was the first one that has done it. So it's pretty difficult for you to then tell me this is how you do it. And I'm like, you haven't done it. It's like, it's impossible. Like, what in the hell? You know, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It'd be like if someone who never won a gold medal in their life was telling you, hey, Anthony, I know you're training for this race, bro. Here what you got to do. And you're like, don't make it harder than it is, son. Like, you couldn't run from here to 7-Eleven. Don't get out of my face. You know, you're like, come on, you know. Don't make it harder than it is. It's like, if you haven't done it, don't tell the person who knows how to do it how to do it.
That's how everybody functions, though, man.
Well, I don't know about that. I would say that's a pretty broken way to function if you're a society that lives in the year 2020.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
I agree.
You know, not in any industry, but definitely in graphic design, because everyone has the Adobe Suite and the iMac, so everybody's a designer now. It's crazy. Crazy.
I love that. Like, that's a great quote. We need to put that on the site. Everybody has Adobe Designer and a Mac.
Yeah. So, I mean, I fell victim to. Oh, that was crazy. That was crazy.
I noticed you were almost killed, Kevin, on camera. That was bad.
When I first got my MacBook and it came with iMovie, I was like, I'm making videos. I'm an editor, bro. I'm an editor. So I fell victim to it.
Oh my God. Well, you know, actually, that brings up that great kind of concept that we even brought up last time, which is when you look at the first cut of Star Wars, the original, we kind of talked about this last time, is that I don't even think of it like that George Lucas was just terrible at his job, because that would be, I think, naive and pretentious of us to think, or whatever, as a, you know, as society, as a group, to say George Lucas was just blah, 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 blah. I'm like, he was smart. He was like, I need help. Like, here's all the sequences. Like, there's going to be this dogfight of ships. There's going to be oh my God, we got to buy Kevin a new desk lamp because damn son. So
no, not the camera. I'm about to switch to this camera.
Or did I say camera? I meant lamp. I'm stupid. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Well, it's probably both. It's like the camera and the lamp.
There you go. I understand having Why do you guys think I don't have a camera on, man? It's just because I'm naked from the waist down. No, I'm just kidding. So I don't know. But just to finish what I was saying is that, so when Marsha Lucas and her other 2 editors, and forgive me because I don't know their names, when they did the edit work to try to, you know, salvage the film or whatnot, like, it goes to show what, you know, when someone said, what is editing? Some people think, oh yeah, just, you know, once we film all this, just throw them all together and make sure it makes sense. And you're like, Yeah, like that's a job. I'm like, hello,
Yeah.
like this isn't just like two things that any 12-year-old could, here, edit my film. You're like, yo, when you're talking about being a director or editor or a producer of a film, some people just think, oh yeah, you just give $50,000 and there you go. I'm like, yeah, do you want to change your story there, revise your statement? No. So like, I think that's the thing. Artists, they have a bigger job than some people think. And editing, like, just because you have the ability to edit software and cut clips together doesn't necessarily make you a good video editor.
No, hell no.
Yeah. Also, don't you feel like with the job that they had with Star Wars or any type of like Lord of the Rings or any type of thing where they're kind of like transporting you into a different world that you like have to also be kind of taught how to understand that world.
100%.
There's like a different dimension there, like different than a drama or something where, it's taking place in a world that we all understand already.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I don't want to say I've run into that problem because I knew it from the start, but with Diamond Dragons, what I obviously needed to do is begin the reader with as much of the world as is possible, but not fall victim to the stupid way, which is to deluge them with exposition. In the beginning, there were this thing, and then there were monks, and then there were these things, and then the unicorns came, and then the elves fought this thing, and then there were the mountains. The mountains had magic inside them. Yeah, magic. Anyways, then this thing, and you're like, what is going on? I'm so lost. You can't do that if you deluge people in the beginning with a boatload of information that they're supposed to somehow have to live in this universe. It's like, well, they don't want the History Channel of Star Wars. They want to see, in the beginning, they get the little crawler. I don't even know if the crawler was even necessary. This giant ship is following the smaller one. And the giant ship captures the smaller one. And now we learn one of them is probably the bad guy. And then we see a few of these things. And then there's a princess in white. And there's this dude in dark costume. And he looks tough. And I wonder what this is about. But did we really need to know? There was once this thing called the Force. Also, there's the Clone Wars. Before that, there's a little green guy on this planet. And he was once a samurai. But we'll get to that later. Anyway, like, think about it.
Yeah, what they said, like what Obi-Wan told us in the hut was like enough.
It's plenty. In fact, it's another thing to say about that real quick. And I mean, I want to let you say stuff, obviously, but is right. Like, too much information. And that is, even if you deliver it well, like, let's say you don't deliver it in a janky way but you're saying, I want to get exposition out, over explaining the Force kind of cheapens it. It starts to become like a parlor trick instead of this all-encompassing mystery where we don't know everything about it, and chances are we may never. I like that as a concept for things like the Force. Now, not everything needs to be that way. You might need to learn, well, this guy once killed this guy and then he took his laser sword and ran off and found his motorcycle or whatever. Okay, fine. But when you're talking about something like this religious underpinning that George Lucas was putting, I think it was way better that the Force was far more amorphous and way less like, oh, look, if you calculate this thing, it's just 2 parts oxygen and 1 part nitrogen. Yeah. What the fuck? You're like, wait, what? They analyzed it? What do they have, like little... Also, like when you look in the microscope where the little midi-chlorian's going, like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? Like, you guys are over-explaining it.
You know what? It does open up like a weird world of almost like they never went there. But the metachlorians opened it up. Like, if you kind of think about it in this odd way, that it opened it up to like a horror genre, to where like we could be talking about Force vampires now. We could be talking about like blood transfusions by the bad. I mean, imagine the bad guys.
100%. I love
like
it.
These dudes in like test tubes, and they've been captured, and like maybe Anakin's been pegged for capture because they're going to just kind of keep him alive, but every so often, just when he becomes
draw the blood, put it into Palpatine
or whatever.
That's awesome.
And maybe he's got 10 of these people, and maybe the person didn't even start out with the Force, but just with these transfusions, he started out being like a scientist, but now he's growing to become like a Sith or something.
I'm telling you, Anthony, you got these good ideas for stories. And hey, by the way, everybody, did we tell you that Anthony and Kevin are doing this thing called Albatross? Did we mention that? Because right now, for the next 10 minutes, for only $9.95, the special bottom price of $995. No, I'm just kidding. But no,
you run. What is he coming up with?
Yeah, I know. Well, sometimes I just do that
with a special.
It was the very special. But no, seriously, like Anthony's ideas I think are good. And that does 100% make sense too. Like if you think about it, if you're like, well, yeah, couldn't you, if this is a thing, you could physically harvest it from one person and like you said, implant it to another. You could grow it, So and the problem with that is, again, because it's been over-explained, then you can continue to nail it down. And I don't want to bring it back to Diamond Dragons, but like some of the reasons I'm designing it, I put some mystery in it on purpose. Some mystery never gets solved on purpose. Because, for example, some people started reading my script and then they're like, or I should say screenplay. So it's not going to be confused with, theatrical or something. But the screenplay, they'll read it and then they're like 10 pages in and they're like, well, what about this? And I'm like, well, if you read a little further, you might find out. But beyond that, I'm like, well, what if I never solved that? What are you going to cry? Like, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just like, does every single damn thing that's placed into a story need to get all tied up and resolved at the end of the arguable? Well, I mean, if you have a series, I guess there's that, and 3 movies. But like, since when must everything tie? Because in the real world,
type of tricks that like JJ does, I don't like that. Too many open-ended things are no good either. But yeah, some things are fine.
I agree. And that's the thing. And also, and what do they call it? And therein the twains shall meet, is that somewhere in there, someone's going to have a different perspective. They're going to say, no, I like to leave a lot more open ends. Some people would say, I like to leave medium amount. Some people are like, dude, I like to tie up like, I want to say 90%, son. And it's like, cool. But also, I think the biggest hole to fall in is trying to tie something up because you feel you must is not a good reason in a story, because it's the characters who should be propelling you to do so. Does that make sense?
That's a good point.
I know that as a writer, you understood what I just said. We probably hit maybe 30% of the audience, and then this other 70% are like, wait, what the fuck? Like they just were like, what did he just say? But like, right? Like,
SD Productions is in the house. Hey, thanks for joining us. He says we make illustration look easy. Thank you.
Oh, snap. See, that's what the best do. Oh yeah, ST in the house. What up? I totally agree with what he's saying. And it reminds me of this phrase they used to talk about, which is with Fred and Ginger, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers. You watch them dance and then afterwards you're like, you know what? I want to take up some dancing lessons. Then you go out and you're like, okay, never mind. Like I suck, and the same thing. I'm not trying to compare it to necessarily me, but it's just more like art. Like if people, come and, saw the fencing classes, or they see, oh, I saw some of your footage. It's so good. I want to do this. Then they come and learn, oh, damn, this takes a lot of work. And I'm like, yeah. So the fencing thing, yeah, going to take some work, son. Like you're going to sweat. You're going to be angry. You're going to be tired. You're going to be miserable. But eventually you're going to have those sides of fun with it. Like I could guess with you and Kevin, you probably had to drill a whole bunch of boring ass things for a while at the very least, or just draw really poorly for a long time. And then you like go, okay.
Yeah, probably that second one.
But like fair, like #fair. Like, I don't know if people really think about it this way, but for the people who knew me as Nova Star or whatever, is, I didn't come out of the box being able to do a backflip and do a bunch of fight choreography and communicate it to 10 other people and then make a show out of it. I didn't 4 years old and I'm like, let's do this,
Thanks for joining us, Jim. Jim Smith is here.
I was about to say, yo, what up, Jim? Shout out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Nova, I know what you mean. Like, there's this video I watched today about kind of managing time, and it was
God,
in relation to martial arts, and it just goes for anything though that you can only do so much. And it was Ramsey Dewey.
Oh yeah, I like Ramsey Dewey.
Yeah,
shout out to Ramsey. He's pretty cool.
He was talking about just there's only 24 hours in a day, and we've talked about that a lot before.
There's
nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, there's a step further than that. I'd like to even bounce off of that. Hey, if Ramsey ever catches the show, he might like this to this point. I love the whole there's only 24 hours a day. By the way, if you ever have, and I don't know if Ramsey got it from this, but Muhammad Ali was one of the best known people for making this wonderful sort of speech about time and how it affected him as a boxer, but not only that, as a human being. You'll have to look it up sometime and be like,
that sounds awesome.
I can't even explain how awesome it is, but like if anybody's watching, just, keyword search Muhammad Ali, how much time in a day. I don't know what words it would be, like what's his, is there some catch name for that? But it was, I think it was done in the UK. And the reason I know that is because he was doing this speech and there's a big crowd. You could just tell it was like in Europe, because everybody, of course, had an accent that just, everything was different. Like I was like, this looks like it was filmed not in the US. It could have been even plausibly in Manila, maybe, you know what I mean? With the boxing matches where, he couldn't have a lot of them in the US due to anyway, I don't want to get off subject, but anyway, he talked about time, but there's something further if you're talking about martial arts and boxing. And Anthony will resonate with this. I don't know how much with Kevin, depending on how much, if he's done any martial art. But let me explain. So Muhammad Ali talks about time. There's only 24 hours a day. Same thing that Ramsey do. He's echoing this message, or, purporting his own version, which is great. You know what I mean? Like saying, hey, I believe in that too. Think about it. In martial arts, it's exactly the same way if you're talking about any aspect of it. If you are executing a punch, you want to take the least amount of time you can do while also giving them the amount of power that you want to put into it. And let's say I need to try to, trap your arm or do a wrestling move on you. The more units of time it takes, the more possibility you're going to get out of that.
Yeah, or like be in a different position where originally your go at it is no longer
available.
Available, yeah. Exactly.
And I always look at it like this. Look, when you see these stupid ass videos, and I'm not trying to call people out on here, but I'm trying to say, if you guys want to learn how to, and I don't mean just you and Kevin, I mean like whoever's listening, whatever, to like Jim and ST Productions and anybody else is going to come on here one day. If you want to learn how to immediately recognize the jankiest martial arts or self-defense videos out there, the biggest clue is if it takes the action they propose takes more than 1 unit of time, or like 1.5 or 2, maybe maximum. But like when you see someone go, okay, so, here is Anthony and he has a sword. I don't, of course. So Anthony's going to swing his sword at me. And okay, I'm going to sidestep. I'm going to put my hand here. I'm going to clutch the sword with my other one. I'm going to step underneath his. As soon as you start hearing any of this, you're like, okay, it's jank. And the reason it's jank is obvious. It's not me. It's not my opinion. It's physics. If Anthony makes a move in 1 unit of time and I make a move in that unit of time, now we reset. And now if I start to make a move, Anthony could be making another move in that unit of time. Would you acquiesce and say that that makes perfect damn sense?
Right.
100%. It's impossible to refute. And I'm not saying that's because of my opinion or Anthony's or Kevin's or Jim's or ST Productions. It's just physics. If I throw a punch at Anthony in that unit of time, he can either be stepping back, blocking me, throwing another something, but he can do only one thing for the most part. Some might say, oh, well, what if they're a little faster? I'm like, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying though, if I'm throwing a punch, if you're throwing a kick, there you go. But you can't, like, while I throw my punch, throw a kick, a punch, a sweep, do this, do that, and the other. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And you want to know why it doesn't make sense? Because it's impossible and will never happen in real life. That's why you'll see a video, right, where they'll show someone with a knife. And I've actually been guilty of doing this on the DVDs. It's the one video I wish I never did, and I could get to that another time. It had to do with a knife attack, but it was just for staged combat. But anyway, if you see someone stab with a knife and then you show the person clutch that guy's wrist and then they start doing all these things to take them down, have you ever tried that in real time with someone with just even a rubber knife?
No, not really. Like I've always had cooperative partners.
It's ridiculous impossible, let me tell you. I did experiments with my buddies in college. This is a long time ago, and we would do lipstick. So let me explain.
So you could tell. So you could tell if you got sliced.
No, we put it on our lips and just no, I'm just kidding. But so I would put it on the knife, blah 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 blah, smeared all over. We were wearing these janky, I said, hey, let's all bring janky white, T-shirts that you'd paint in or whatever, and they're all ripped up, old sweaty, just and then go for it. In fact, we would do that with water guns too. Like now, obviously a water gun the water does not come out nearly as fast as a bullet would. But here's the thing. I remember at one point we were doing these drills with the knife, again, quote unquote, a knife, a rubber knife. So it's actually, it feels safer and you might try riskier things. But anyway, this is my point. We were all screwed. Like we tried everything. I mean, I was like, okay, I think I got an idea that will make it maybe safer. And that's pretty much all that we ever figured out. And we did a lot of fun experiments. It was fun. But all I can tell you is in the end, I determined that even if you were super Olympic level and the other person was kind of slow as a human being, I don't know. I think you're going to get stabbed,
Yeah.
And the shooting thing was just more about, it's kind of ironic. The gun was less effective than the knife at close range. But I guess I wouldn't call it funny. It's just like, oh, gee, you mean a ranged weapon isn't that effective in close quarters combat? And you're like, gee, do you think? Because obviously the barrel of the gun needs to be pointing at the target, even at point blank range. So if it's off by millimeters, you're going to miss your target.
Right. It all has to do with like a straight line, where
Correct.
The weird part about like a bladed weapon is like however wild the person is swinging their arms is whatever weird arc this thing is taking up in the time space.
You're getting my drift.
It's scary because the way a knife can move or a whatever kind of bladed thing is just unpredictable, where at least with a gun, at least that it's going to come out straight from the nozzle.
Right. But there's a caveat. There's a flip side to that coin with the gun. And I'm glad you brought up that the knife could be wild or whatever. I'll put it to you this way. First of all, let's acquiesce that I'm dumb enough to point a gun at your chest at point blank range and maybe ask for your money, or I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an idiot, but whatever. And I'm a mean, terrible guy. And then somehow you go to clutch for the gun. There's still nothing stopping me from using my other hand to grab your hand, bring the gun around and pistol whip you hard. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. And vice versa. I'm not saying, oh, I'm so tough. I'm saying if you had a gun and you pointed it at point blank range, I go to try to trap it and I'm doing it. If you get that gun out of my hands, I mean, you don't have to shoot me. You can just be like, whack. That's a big piece of steel.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to hurt. So all I'm trying to say is when people I'm trying to say that they demystify, or it's not even the right words. It's just more like they make it seem like it's just so easy. I'm like, son, if a gun's being pointed at you, you're lucky if it's at point blank range because you might have the ability to survive. But chances are something's going to go real bad for you unless you totally trap the gun. And even at that point, you might be using two hands to trap the gun. That's what I would do, by the way. That's what I did every time I had a chance. If someone pointed the gun at point blank range and we were purporting that you can't escape, like in other words, running is just out of the question for this drill. Like you're just not allowed to run, because that's the first thing. You'd say throw your wallet that way, run the other way. If they really want to kill you, you're dead. But the point is this, I would be like, okay, oh, please, just whatever you do, don't boom. And I would just explode and clutch onto the gun and try to clutch it to my chest and get the barrel pointing away from my chest, but trap their arms right to my chest, or their one arm if I'm unlucky. And I would just hold on to it as best I could until I could get control of it. But guess what they could do with the other hand? Just beat on you.
Or pull out something else,
This is all I'm saying. But I'm saying is that would be your best chance. And I'll tell you this, every single time, well, okay, every single time is exaggerating, but 90% of the time I got wet when we did that drill. And which means I got shot, and we knew when it was like, oh, this was the dribbles of whatever, I mean, we knew. We're like, yo, I shot you. Did you feel it? I'm like, yeah, I felt it in the arm, or whatever. But every single thing I tried failed, and the closest was just what you'd expect is clutch, grab at the gun, and bring everything as close to your body as possible. So it's impossible for him to pull the trigger and then be trying to make sure the gun barrel is not facing, well, no one, actually. I don't want it facing him either, or her, or whatever. Last thing you want to do is be involved in I murdered someone. Or I'm sorry, even if they said you killed someone, like, think about it. Everybody's like, well, self-defense. I'm like, your life is going to change. Your life is going to change. Even if you were in self-defense, if you didn't mean to kill someone, your life is going to change.
That's true.
Nobody thinks of it that way. They just think, oh man, if someone came out with me with a bat, man, dude, man, I would take that bat from them and I'd beat their skulls in. I'm like, Yeah. Anyway, listen, I gotta go, so I'll see you later. Like, I'm not talking to those people. They don't know what they're talking about.
Speaking of life changing,
yeah,
Kev, I want you to look at these lizards that I got on the screen here.
Oh, I saw it. Look at those. They're so pretty.
What I want to try to draw is like there's these weird creatures in this facility. Like what I'm trying to draw right here is like in blue pencil. It's probably hard to see, but the idea is that there's like a lizard that's running across the rafter here. And Kev, like, what do you think would be good features for like an alien style lizard? Like something that could. Is there anything that you could think of that would kind of shout that like this is an alien? You know.
That first one on the upper left-hand corner is looking pretty crazy, man. I would just
yeah,
I would look extra crazy.
Maybe I just gotta say, like, I appreciate Kevin's style, right?
Or something, or
I'm gonna say I was going with the same thing, Anthony. As I was definitely looking at upper left, blue lizard with the purple inside mouth, but also that kind of second row, third picture, green and purple. We'll call him the Joker lizard.
Yeah, that one looks so weird to me too.
It's and I mean, right? Like, look at those cool, whatever those are. Is that extra eyes he has, or is that just extra special gills?
That looks that does look like more eyes.
Yeah, and it looks like he swallowed like some kind of peanut shell, but we won't go there. But the point is.
Hey, thanks, Mundo. We'll see you in a little bit. He says he's on the road. He's going
Mundo. Shout outs to Mundo Cabrera. What's up in the house? But then he'll be in the house maybe later, 45 minutes later.
Yeah, he's always getting off work kind of late at this time.
Figures. Trying to skip out on the show, Mundo. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, what is this? Jim Smith writes, love the iguana lounging on the Chesterfield. That is so true. I like too that I forgot what it is. The Latin definitive is basilisk. Well, basilisk is something weird like that. I don't know what it is, but like basilisk is a great mythological creature too. And I know they had that in Harry Potter. I'm not saying there's one in Diamond Dragons 1, but it's plausible that they might show up in other iterations, because I've already been writing a lot for Diamond Dragons 2, which is nice. Oh yeah, because all the ideas that came for 1 could not plausibly be used in all of it, and some of them just don't fit in. But they're not the kind of ideas you want to throw away. You're like, oh snap, that totally has to happen to that character. Like, yes, please. You know what I mean?
Do you see like a production happening where like it's all generated on the computer, or it's like humans interacting with dragons?
That's a really good point. So let's see a couple things on that. One, in this land, even though people won't really know this, and I mean, part of this will be when you read the script, you'll find out something interesting. But anyway, in this first iteration of Diamond Dragons, humans aren't in this story. We'll put it to you that way. Now, does that mean they're not in the world? I won't give away too much or whatever, but I'm going to say that, there's a lot of things that could be left open. Again, that's to me part of the keeping the mystery open. Like, just because this is a land where we're following a story of dragons doesn't mean like, oh, so I guess this is a world of dragons, and like to the left is dragons, and if you go down the street and go up a mile towards the 7-Eleven, and then you go like past that, like there's more dragons and stuff. Like, no. Like, that's cool in the gang. I get it. Like, oh yeah, a world of dragons. I'm like, no, this is not a world of dragons. It just so happens we live in a place where these dragons live, and this is a story about them. And ironically, and you'll read about this too, both you and Kevin, if you get a chance to read, if you read far enough, there are some forces that occur that are not the evil guys.
What do you mean? Just like other forces in the world that are like,
this is correct,
that are not trying to be good or evil?
Semi, but this is correct. Yes. So the answer is definitely mostly yes, exactly. So in other words, a good way to think of it is like, for example, and I'm almost giving it away, but it's kind of like, duh, it would be boring if it wasn't like this. In the world of Star Wars, it's not like, okay, we have the Rebels and the Empire, or whatever film set you choose. There were things like Wampa, whatever those weird beasts were that Obi-Wan was like, dude, they're trying to kill us. in episode 1 and 2 or whatever. There's asteroids. So the environment can be an enemy, and I think most writers actually are aware of this. I'm 100% sure you're aware of this as a tool set, right, Anthony?
Yeah, like actually our whole story, and I think Kevin, you can chime in if you think I'm making a mistake by saying this, but I think our whole story is full of this like gray area. Nobody. I don't know if we can point to, and like the only one I can only think of one person that could kind of point to like being like the bad guy in our story. Like everyone else kind of thinks they're doing, what they want to do. It's like some people are more selfish than others. Some people have a lot of more people to look out for. Some people are just looking out for themselves. Some people are looking out for a whole city. But within that, there's bending the rules. There's people going against the grain. There's people flat out killing people. All the while they kind of think, I guess, Kev, I think I'm thinking of Bomag right now, that he kind of thinks he's like righteous, and maybe these people don't even matter to him almost, because we have a character that he was kind of part of a different time. He was from a history that no longer exists anymore. He came back to Earth from like a long excursion, where it's kind of like the movie Aliens or one of these other movies where you see someone frozen in hypersleep for a long time to make like a long space journey.
Copy that.
And when his ship came back to Earth, it did make it back, but it crash landed on Earth, and it's just a huge ship. Like you could picture like a super star destroyer. It took like all the Earth's resources to build this thing in the first place. By the time the ship made it back to Earth, like the Earth was just in a far different state. It was like 80 years later. And this ship crash landed. They used all their resources on Earth to kind of try to unpack the ship, get whatever they could out of the salvage, but they didn't. It's such a huge ship. It was such a large crash site, and the world was in disarray at this point. There's wars starting. There's different things going on, and these rescue efforts.
I love it. Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, these like rescue efforts kind of faded away as the Earth got colder and colder and colder, because every year the sun was like diminishing until it basically faded away completely, like before our story starts. That's the whole reason for the space excursion in the first place, was to find a solution to this or find a new home for us, that type of thing.
That's really cool. I want to chime in on that, because on one of my favorite old stories, and it's one of the things that actually I kind of referred to, I believe, last show, which was Star Blazers / Yamato in Japan, which was based on the true Yamato ship, which was sunk by the U.S. military back in, I want to say it was WW2, I believe. But anyway, the point is, the story of Star Blazers goes like, these strange radiation bombs are being catapulted way from outer space at the Earth. And everybody's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what the hell is this? It's completely random. But what they do is they put a clock on things, essentially, where they're like, basically scientists read all the radiation. They're like, at this rate, if it continues, even, a little less, a little more, we have about 1 year, and then all life on Earth will cease to exist, at least on the top. And at the very least, we have to go underground. And even after that, we might be in fucking trouble. Yeah. So what it does is, it's great. It sets what some people like to refer to as an artificial timer, but I only call it artificial if it seems like it's literally been placed into the plot, and you're like, oh, gee, so they only have 5 minutes. Woo-hoo. That's dumb. But I mean, when you have something like this, and what happened is it permeates the entire show all the way through the season, or seasons, depending on, well, it only runs one season for this particular story plot line. They figured out. But the point is, at the end of every episode, to a point, they'd say, hurry, Star Force, the Earth only has 264 days left. And you're like, dude, don't even, because then you knew one day, where would you be? Hurry, Star Force, the Earth only has 5 days left, and you're like, oh my God, so you're like, what? Also, real quick, shout out to Jim Smith. He says Nova has a great radio podcast type voice.
He does. Hey. He does.
Yeah, so
thanks.
Real quick though, going back to the sun dwindling away like year after year.
Yeah, that's like a timer.
I don't really. I mean, I'm not 100% behind that yet, because we all know that the phases, like the life of a star, could turn into a red giant and a white dwarf.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know how much creative license we take. Like, I don't know if we interject something where, like, I don't know, something happens where we fall off our axis, because we know for a fact in like 6 million years, the Earth is going to swell into a red giant and just absorb Mars and Earth. You know what I'm saying?
So you mean the sun? The sun is going to absorb.
Yeah, the sun is going to absorb Mars and Earth, and like.
Here's my thinking behind that. Like this is. Yeah, like this is my side of it, where like Kevin's being very scientific. He listens to people like on FX Saber forums, JB Kuma, who gave us a whole list. One of our first shows he listened to, Jason did, and gave us a whole list of all scientific explanations for all the stuff that we have in our story. So one of them was something like this, where the way that we believe the sun will, or a star does die out.
That's like a fact though.
Right. But there, here's where I'm drawing my my eyebrow is up, and this is why I get to that place, is because human beings on Earth, scientists and doctors say they still do not completely understand the human brain. So to take that fact, they do not completely understand the human brain. How could they possibly understand the ins and outs of a star?
No, I mean, stars have been studied like crazy, though. I mean, this is like.
I know, but so have brains, and like we just don't understand everything there is to know. And so my take on it is that it can happen another way.
Personally, when I start watching a movie or a series and like they just make some crazy scientific leap, and I'm like, yo, that's just not even happening. So I hate when I have to like just ignore everything I know from the get. I'm like, oh fuck, all right. Like that's a big turn off for me personally.
Well, let me interject here, because I actually really love this discussion, because what I see here, and I'm always this way, maybe I'm over analytical, but I think in a good ways. So Anthony has a side of looking at things I like, and then Kevin has a little bit different side. And what I like is we're discussing it, and it's not like, you suck, you're dumb.
Oh, no, that's not how it goes. That's how it goes.
No, what I'm saying is then I feel like I actually have a third opinion here, which is, and it does definitely relate more to filmmaking and drama and storytelling rather than either. So, for example, if you take the physics of the universe and apply them directly and like mirror side to the world of whatever world you're making for a film or for a comic book or for a production or whatever, it's not necessarily bad. But the point is, here's a good way to look at it. So let's pretend we were doing that, a mirror image, that Earth is Earth, and then now we're going to do a romantic comedy. And so Earth is still Earth, only now romantic comedy. Keep in mind that even in almost any romantic comedy, and understand that's why I'm bringing this up on purpose, a bunch of stupid ass implausible things happen. People maybe fall off buildings and go, and they're like, Tim, are you all right? Uh-oh. And then they go over and then they're fine afterwards. Or people will chase cars down the road, go, Elizabeth, and they're running all the way down a block for 15 minutes straight, no problem. And these are just average people. What?
That was dramatic as fuck.
But yeah, exactly. But hear me out. So all these strange implausibilities occur even in a world that was created to mirror where we are today. Now, cell phones, cell phones, restaurants, taxi cabs, sunglasses, scissors, whatever you want to call it. So what I'm getting at is there's no film or no drama out there that actually makes real world sense.
Yeah.
And that's not just because of physics, it's because of storytelling. And the reason that is not because some people are just plain dumb. I mean, sometimes it is dumb writing, but a lot of times it's because it's more interesting. Like, for example, isn't it more interesting in Star Wars that a lot of things do not make any sense of quote unquote physics? Like, Star Wars is about as close to the way real space on Earth, or whatever, not on Earth, but in our universe works, as the Federal Reserve is federally controlled.
Mm.
It's about as it has as much to do with underwater basket weaving as doing lightsaber fighting. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, they don't have anything to do with one another. But what makes Star Wars interesting isn't the weird physics or the janky strangeness of how the ships do this, that, and the other, and there's no this, and don't worry about that, and this laser beam does that, and you're like, that can't happen in space. It can't even happen in lightsabers are impossible, etc. But think about how boring it would be if you said we're binding every single thing in this film to real world only now physics. It would cripple you as a storyteller. Now, again, I'm not trying to say my way is right amongst the three of our opinions, but it's something to chew on, that you go like, wait a minute, even a romantic comedy is ridiculous. You can find all these places where you're like, what the hell? So you're telling me he ran up 29 flights of stairs just to tell her, but Elizabeth, I love you, don't marry Mark or whatever. And it's like, he ran up 29 flights of stairs and he's just fine. What? Hello, did I lose you guys?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I thought Kevin was going to say something.
Oh, Kevin, if you're still there, we lost your audio.
Oh.
Uh-oh. So just guys who are watching the show, I just want to quickly say, if we ever come off as too slick or too technologically great, let us know, because we lost Kevin's audio.
See, there's a few different things that I think are unique about our sun. First of all, it's a yellow sun. And
okay.
There's a couple other things that are unique about it than when I've watched these shows about space and the different stars and what happens to stars.
Right.
And they know a lot for people that have basically never left the planet's surface, but we don't know everything. And it's just like the human body. There's mysteries inside the human body. There's a lot of mysteries up in space. And my idea for the sun dying, I've looked it up, and we could look it up, where it may not be 100% what is the idea of how a star dies, but I kind of feel like there is extra things happening that maybe we didn't know about. For instance, like maybe there's a gigantic, huge, like partially planet-sized like meteor that is made up of some certain substance that kind of hits the sun and maybe causes some kind of premature death of it or something. So
I totally agree.
Factors, yeah.
Not to mention the fact that what you're mentioning there too really hits the head on what it means to be, in my mind, a creative writer, which is to say, it's nice that if you come up with something that's implausible in the world, that you have some pretty good reasons to think why it could be this way, because instead of maybe breaking a rule that everybody already knows, what if you bend them like they do with the Matrix, where they say, well, I want to have it where there's a world where people can run off of walls and do all these flips, but that the audience is going to be like, yeah, cool, that makes sense. And without the Matrix explaining that's why it's plausible, we probably wouldn't have believed in, you know what I mean? Like, it would make no sense. Like, imagine if the Matrix was still the Matrix, but just not with the Matrix being fake. Like everything we were watching with Neo and Trinity when they're doing all their fight work. Like, what if that was supposed to be being shown that was really actually happening right here and now? We would be like, what the hell? Right?
Yeah.
Because none of that makes sense. But because they explain and say, here's our creative way of saying, in this world, you can jack into the Matrix, Neo. And he's like, what? Tell me more, And then they go in and you're like, oh shit, cool stuff can happen here. So that's what I think. What I'm trying to get at is, I like your line of thinking, Anthony, because you're saying, well, I'm not going to say let's break physics that we know it. Let's talk about some of the minutia that we're not sure of. And we're like, well, what if this was, if you go at the molecular level, this can be this and that and the other. Then at the very least, people who might say, oh, but we don't even know that in the real world and it's implausible. Some would say, we don't know that, you know, as opposed to if you just say, fuck gravity, it no longer exists in our world. You might have a little trouble getting people to buy that if you were trying to be like, it's a lot like Earth, but you could do that. You could say it's like Earth, but no gravity. And they'd be like, kind of like the moon. And you'd be like, well, yeah, but what if you said 100% zero gravity? Because I think we all know that even on the moon, there is some level of gravity, but it's not very much.
Yeah. And, things could kind of go really out of whack when we try to really instill like a level of realism that may be too real for a comic book, because there's like a point in our story where it's since the sun has disappeared or it's gone, the earth starts to it has slowly started to, as the sun diminished, started to kind of, its orbit got wider and bigger. And eventually when the sun diminished to the point where it was too weak to hold the magnetism, the Earth drifted away.
Yeah, that's cool. See, that's why I like that line of thinking, that at the very least, you can say, we want to do more comic book here, please, audience. So let us bend the rules a little. And then the point is for you to give the audience all the reasoning of why it's plausible in your world. Not that it's plausible in the real world, but as long as you have your characters explain it, then it works. That's actually how the rule works. Like, think about it. You don't buy the Force because the Force is real. And I'm talking about the Force like Star Wars. You don't buy the Force because the Force makes sense to you in the real world, but you kind of do, because then they explain it as this metaphysical thing, and then you see people utilize it, and therefore it exists. Just like when he goes, Kirk Enterprise, beam this up, 4 bodies, whatever, and then
love it.
Then people don't go, what the fucking, are you kidding me? Their little particles are being scrambled and this is ridiculous. Like, you could say that it's 100% ridiculous. Like, but when it's explained to you, you know that they're like, this is stasis. This is every day for the last 25 years for these dudes and dudettes. They walk into this little thing and they disappear and come back. And the point is too, when you have your characters treat it like that, where it's like old hat. Like if you have your characters treat it that having this antenna sticking out of their wrist is from their skin is normal, and everybody's like, someone has to explain it. Like, what is that? And they're like, oh, you haven't been here. Are you new to this planet? And they're like, well, yeah, I've only been here a month. They're like, so these are antenna that they embed in us with microchips at birth, son. Anyways,
yeah, like that's your way.
Have a good day.
Have a story like that, and let me grab Kevin here.
We lost his audio. Kevin, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Damn, man, that sucked.
I'm trying to get Kevin to get a range extender because he works in the basement, and I think maybe something's too far away.
Copy that. That makes all the sense.
Sometimes his sound kind of voids out too. ST Production says, I didn't think anything could mess with the sun's lifespan unless there was a cause and effect. I think 5 to 6 billion years it'll go red giant, but normally it will eternally produce its fusion. I think since they say the Earth is about 4 billion years old, they really don't know how old it is precisely, right? It's like 4.6 or something like that. This is
give or take, right?
I mean, this was kind of the impetus for the beginnings of our reasoning here, which ST points out about the 5 to 6 billion year lifespan of the sun, is that me and Kevin kind of originally, came to the conclusion that, hey, we're kind of in that range.
Good point.
Yeah, and then a quick fix in the back of my mind has always been we never mentioned that it's Earth. You know what I'm saying?
That is a great point. Oh, really quick, shout out to Wookiee Supremacy. Yeah. Wookiee in the house.
Wookiee Supremacy. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Wild, man.
We were just talking about Albatross Junction. Anyone that's joining us, we're doing a comic book with Kevin and I, and Nova Star is here talking about his Diamond Dragon story. Kevin and I's story is Albatross Junction. It takes place way in the future, if it's even Earth, like Kevin just said, and it involves Donovan Cordova as our main character, and he eventually has a couple kids in the story. And the kids kind of take over as the main characters when we get there. But since we're on issue number 1, it's all about Donovan Cordova and what he's doing. And
does he get the nickname DC?
Yeah, he does. He does, actually.
Isn't that cool? I guessed it, and I was like, in my mind, that's a good thing. Like, that's a good plot thing, because I was like, wow, if I was the writer, I would call him DC at one point because it's just sexy. Like, it's cool. So I already dig. Like, I haven't read anything, so you'll have to send me, whatever you want me to look at, and I'll be happy to, try to.
Great.
But I love it. Yeah, DC or whatever. It kind of reminds me of the JC Denton character from Deus Ex. Yeah, I got a chance to do his voice once for a Machinima video. It was fun. The original actor was J. Anthony Frank. Shout out to J. Anthony Frank for doing both JC and Paul Denton for Deus Ex. That's kind of how it was. It was really cool. I love the JC Denton character. It's awesome.
Is that like a game like Max Payne?
No, actually, in fact, it's funny. You'll have to look it up. It's a great cyberpunk style game, but it goes so much further. Is that it's very story based. lots of characters to go meet, people to talk to, lots of voice acting involved, very almost RPG style, because there are like little skills that you can increase, and of course it depends on what you'd like to get better at. But for the most part, it's sort of like, boy, how do I explain it? I mean, it's just a great game. And again, I'm talking about the original for anybody who needs to know. Deus Ex is DEUS and then EX. What it really means too is it's Latin for that just means of God. And people would be most familiar with the type of term. What it means is Deus Ex Machina means machine of God. And everybody always wonders, well, what the hell is that? Because they always hear that it's something at the end of a movie or something. Like Deus Ex Machina was this terminology that was used way back in the day when we had plays like Oedipus Rex and things were still in Latin, whatever. But the point being is that Deus Ex Machina is literally when the story writers had no other choice but to bring God in and have them solve the problems at the end of the story, because they had written themselves into a corner. And so it became literally machine of God. They would, cart in some dude on cables hovering over the stage and come in and go, I heal your wounds and I smite down the evil guy. And then the hero lives and that's it. And it was like, what the hell is this? So I'm not kidding. You'll have to look up and see. These are all the weird tidbits you get.
The easy way out.
Exactly. And these are all the weird tidbits about history of writing that you'll get when you talk to weird, crazy bastards like myself. But so that it's literally machine of God for that reason. So when they say, oh, great, we have this Deus Ex Machina with Han Solo at the end of Star Wars, ridiculous stuff. Someone could say that and you'd be like, what the hell? Is that what that means? I'm like, exactly. And yes, it was used in Star Wars, but it's a powerful tool. What you do is to do it powerfully, you set it up and then you make people forget about that character for a long time. And yes, ST Productions writes, Rise of Skywalker is like an entire Deus Ex Machina. And I would agree with you, ST, because
they had to fix a lot.
Well, I'm not even going there. What I'm simply saying is, yeah, if you make them forget about a certain character and then suddenly, boom, they show up and do something crazy. It's pretty awesome. And actually, wait, Rise of Skywalker was, it was 8, right?
I think you mean 8 for that, for when Luke shows up at the end. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, well, I think, what he said was Rise of Skywalker. Wait, what was the middle movie?
Last Jedi.
Oh, that's maybe what he meant, or at least I know that's what I meant. 8 was lovely too with that. The ending was great, but it is sort of a Deus Ex Machina because you're like, the bad guys are here, the good guys are against the wall, they don't have anything left, there's nothing that they can do. What could they possibly do to get out of this situation? That's right, Luke. I love it. It's Deus Ex Machina, and I like it because it's also still a callback to, the X-Wings getting blown away. Luke's there, and he's like, oh God, he's the only one. Use the Force, Luke, or whatever. And he's like, I have you now. Ka-chung! Yeehaw! And you're like, what do you mean yeehaw? Well, you're like, what do you mean yeehaw? Who's yeehaw? What? What do you mean yeehaw? Oh, it's Han. I thought he was headed off with his money to go to Jabba. Oh no, he made a change of heart. Why, whatever could possibly have made us see this coming? But it was awesome. So yes. So Deus Ex Machina, Deus Ex is a great game. I love doing that voice because that character in that game is really powerful. It was the product of a game company called Ion Storm. So shout out to anybody who's on the Ion, or who was on the Ion Storm team back in the day, programmers, this kind of thing.
What year was that you did the voiceover work?
I don't remember when I did this, but this guy, J. Anthony Frank, who was the actual voice of the character of J.C. Denton and his brother in the game, Paul Denton, I believe it was 99 or 2000. And it was probably partially influenced by the Matrix. In fact, I think there's a cheat code where you can bring up the Matrix code in it. It's kind of cool. Just for the opening screen. Like you type in, there is no spoon, and then the opening screen turns all into little zeros and ones floating around. And it's pretty cool.
Just like an Easter egg type of thing. Didn't do anything to the game though.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Is like, it came out during that time, and yeah, people were wearing trench coats and sunglasses and shit, but it was appropriate because it was a cyberpunk game. In fact, here's a little small tidbit that's just more eerie, and you're like, oh man, that's weird. The game prior to, again, we all know about September 11th of 2001. So, shout out to people who lost their lives in that, you know, RIP and etc. This game took place in New York. In fact, you would like it a lot, Anthony, because you have a whole scene where he goes through Battery Park. There's all sorts of shout outs to New York because a lot of it takes place in NY. And anyways, they decided for a lot of reasons. How do I explain this? The skyscape was only so many pixels high and they couldn't make it higher. And they're like, dude, the two towers are not going to show up right, you know? And they're like, well, why don't we just make it where the two towers have somehow been sabotaged and destroyed by terrorists that are part of the story of this game. And we'll have a section later where you can go there and see like the remnants, like I think it's in Battery Park. You get to go see like the Statue of Liberty has been destroyed and other, like there's other things. Now remember, people would say, ooh, is that in bad taste? I'm like, no, it was done in 1999. And think about this. It was released in 99, which means they were obviously
worked on it for 2 years or more.
Yeah, you think they might have been thinking about that. So that's what actually happened. The skybox was too low. They were like, oh, well, we'd like to have it where the towers are there. They're like, it's not that plausible. Like, we'd have to do so many weird patches. It would suck. So they're like, oh, but they're not tall enough. That would be so weird. What do we do? And they're like, yeah, they're destroyed. And it's like, yo, what the? So later when the game was released, and again, this is released pretty much very close. Wait, because didn't the September 11th, was that 2000 or 2001?
2001.
Yeah, so but somewhere in there, people started drawing conclusions because you know how the internet is. They didn't necessarily know. They'll buy the game and they'll be like, what the hell? Why do they have this? And you're like, it's because it was made before. And they're like, it's in bad taste and da-da-da. I'm like, no, I'm saying it was done before. And they're like, oh, like, do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, there's some movies that was weird that happened.
Oh, I know.
That time. I forget which ones, but
really sad. Yeah, it makes it very difficult for people, but it also teaches everybody lessons. Is just because something was there, and then something retrospect, it's different. You're like, well, that just gives you a piece of history, you know.
Like there's that movie Donnie Darko.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah, with Jake Gyllenhaal.
That came out right around that time, and it involved like one of the things that happened in the movie. Like the main plot is that a plane goes down.
Wow.
And, the movie I don't think did well. Kev, you can chime in if you know if you know any info about this. But the movie didn't do well at the time. It's a fantastic movie, and even like someone like me, I didn't even watch it till I think it was 15 years later. My boss told me that it was a great movie and to check it out. And once I saw it, I realized why it didn't do well at that time. It came out in like November of 2001 or something. It wasn't going to do well. You know, it wasn't going to do well. Plane crash and everything. And
isn't that something else to consider? Like you're like, timing is everything. It's true. Like even with my project, I'm very, I don't want to say worried, but it's sort of like, you know, I'm trying to do this Dragons thing. It's like, well, what if the timing is wrong, or, you know, something else happens or something like that? Because it's like, just because a story is great, which I think the story of mine is, it's pretty good. You know, I think people will have to judge it themselves. But the point is, it's like, you know, what if the timing gets messed up? Or I'm sure you guys have had fears of that. Like you're doing Albatross. What if something comes out that's like super close, you know?
Yeah, well, that's something that could happen. But with the screenplay, isn't it different in the fact that like you can't literally like with a comic book, like me and Kevin could draw it, right?
Right.
But you can't like push it out, right? Someone has to kind of grab hold of it and make it happen, and that could be like the script could, you know, be in production for 5 years or whatever, you know, whatever the case is.
Right. So it's complicated, and I would just say this, and you guys kind of know that is, copyright is a weird universe to be involved in. But the point is, like, you guys know that by drawing the things you're doing and you've got your own stories and da-da-da-da, first of all, you do want to register the copyright. But the fact that things get copyrighted the instant you make them is just how it works, at least in the US. It's different for other countries and all that, and we won't go into that because we'd be here forever. But the point is, with the copyright situation, yeah, even if you copyright your work, it doesn't stop people from doing something extremely similar, because, you know, your ideas alone don't make a story. Like, think about it. Dragons are a thing. It's not a new concept. The things you guys are doing, even alien lizards and humans with powers, and it's nothing on its own. It's the combination of ingredients. So I've often made that allusion too, to say, you know, it's kind of like when you make chicken. You know, people go, oh, you're going to cook chicken? Well, Yeah, what kind of chicken? You want to do it Chinese, Japanese? You want to do this thing? You want to do that? You're going to make a chicken pizza? You're going to like the ingredient itself is not patentable, copyrightable, or whatever on its own. It's the combination of all of them, right? So it's sort of like ingredients. Like maybe I'm going to make kung pao chicken. And that, it's usually, what is that? Obviously chicken, peanuts. There's like the kind of hot peppers, maybe celery, some kind of onions might go into it. Do you know what I mean? And obviously rice. But think about it. If you make kung pao chicken and I make kung pao chicken, they might be different, right?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be different almost every time, right? Unless you're super consistent.
Right. And even if we put that aside, we're just talking about, if you cook it first, then that's it. Like maybe everybody's going to be like, whoa, that's cool. I just want to see that. Then someone else comes out with a story that kind of looks similar. It can make it look like one was just plain copying the other and it doesn't have any intrinsic value. It'd be kind of like if Star Wars had come out and then Space Wars came out and it was
it happens all the time. You have like Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Exactly.
You have two movies called Blown Away on the same year, the same summer. Both, isn't that crazy how that happens?
Well, it's not, and it is, because think about this, is that's the thing, is it's like concepts on their own are not that unique. Like having a movie with a concept that people have swords in the movie is not a uncommon thing. You could name 1,000 movies with people with swords in it. Then if you said, okay, people with magical swords, maybe hundreds. People with magical swords that shoot out powers that change rain into wine. Okay, we just got really specific. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's going to be tough. So that's what I think makes stories the most powerful, is when they have such unique components that it would be obvious if someone was copying them. And so those won't survive. But if it's a totally new story, that's why I thought Deep Impact was dope. And so was Armageddon. They were two completely different stories. And I loved them. Not to mention, one of my favorite video games is basically that story. And I'll mind you, I have to say, I felt like it would be better as a movie. It was called The Dig. And it was by Spielberg and Lucas. They combined forces with LucasArts. In fact, Robert Patrick, the voice of the Terminator in Terminator 2, that's a nice bike. Like that. Are you the legal guardian of John Connor? But so like, he's awesome. Robert Patrick's such a great actor. I love that guy. But anyway, so shout outs to Robert Patrick. Woohoo. But the point is, he was the voice of this guy. I think his name was Boston. That was the character's name, Boston. I don't remember his last name for the character, at least. But this Dig movie is a game is so cool. They originally, George Lucas thought of it as it would be a cool movie, but they knew at the time that they were coming up with it, it was way too expensive to do, like just ridiculous. So they made it into a game, and it's so awesome. Like I hope, like today, Anthony, is the time when The Dig could be a great, great film. It could be. It's so good. Like you'd have to play the game. Now, obviously, the way the game is, you wouldn't make the movie exactly the way the game.
Dig Dug.
Yeah. Well, the people might change. Want the title different, but it doesn't matter because The Dig actually has to do with an asteroid. So what happens is they go to make these changes on this asteroid. They want to break it apart artificially. So they're going to use these drills and these kind of tools to help separate it. And then they're going to set off some explosives on it to change the trajectory of the asteroid in general.
Oh yeah. Just like Armageddon, huh?
Precisely. So the irony is Armageddon was way later. Like this idea was George Lucas and Spielberg's, definitely. Now that said, the idea of changing a
lot later. I mean, didn't you track along your life who was copying who?
No, yeah, well, we won't go into that.
Sometimes that kind of happened. I mean, not that you could prove it, but when something happened and you kind of grew up with it, and then you became the age where you could make stuff. Maybe you were 23, 24, and then you started realizing that the TV shows and the things you were watching with probably the special effects people or the people in production now were maybe your age, some of these ideas were coming back around.
Well, sure. I mean, I'll give you an example of where and I know no one will ever believe me on this, but at least the people who kind of know me and of me, they might be like, well, Nova's trustable or whatever, Matthew's trustable. So back in college, I really definitely had the first idea and a better idea for Minecraft. Now, I'm not saying Minecraft, but like my idea back in college was, hey, what if we made all these objects and they were all individually portions of buildings and structures and trees, but they were all individually destroyable or they had this much strength or that much strength. They would regenerate on their own or something. They could rust. They could this, that, and you could burn. To sound familiar?
Yeah.
And that's in college. So you got to understand, for me in college, that was 1994 or something like that. You know, like those years. So clearly, you know, Minecraft was not even a speck in anybody's mind, because the guy who created it, I forgot his name. He has his little code name, like Pixel or something. I don't remember what his name is. A dope programmer, obviously. But anyways, he wasn't even born yet. So all I'm trying to say is, and I was trying to get a team of my buddies to help me make this game. I'm not kidding. Like, I could have been the dude who made, I wouldn't have called it Minecraft at all. And it wouldn't have been quite, like, it would have been better, actually. But two things, major things. One, we didn't collectively have the talent to make it happen. And two, the idea was way too strong for the not programming, but the hardware of the time.
Yeah.
100% too hard. In fact, which is also very ironic, when I was thinking about what was it, a different game altogether, the same I won't even go into the details because I'm talking too much, but yeah, the same thing happened. And then now we're in a world where oh my God, the 3D engines, like, oh my God, right? Unreal 3D now and Unity 3D compared to when they first came out. Like, pardon my French, but what the fuck? Like, oh my God, it's so realistic now. Now they're bringing back ray tracing just for lighting and shadows. I'm like, what?
Like,
this
these
is
cutscenes in these new video games is wild. They look like movies.
And by the way, and I'm not trying to make this another tagline for, hey, everybody, please come support Diamond Dragons, but we got to get more people involved. We got to get the community, the Saber community to understand. I got to get my tricking community from my past involved. I want to say, let's do this all in 3D. And I mean, not like the way they're doing all the Disney movies and stuff. I'm saying, why not in the engines?
What do you mean, actually? Like, this is something I've talked about before.
Move the camera around in the video game 100%. Like, put it this way:
generate a movie out of this technology.
Put it this way: I would be satisfied with the way Skyrim was in 2011.
Oh yeah,
to do what it is that I want to do with Diamond Dragons. Because here's the thing: I have always believed this too: is if a story and the characters and the plot lines and the things that make a story powerful about drama and changing people's lives through storytelling matters and they're strong, as long as your one side of your project is not too weak, you're going to be good. In other words, what if my graphics are just pretty good? That's fine. The story will come through. The only time it would be, I think, weak is when you are only dependent on that. And we've all seen movies like that where you're like, dude, take Michael Bay minus explosions and what do you have? You know?
Kevin was just talking about that.
And it's hard.
Kevin just saw his latest film. Kev, what happened in the movie?
Oh no, this is Bad Boys for Life, is it not?
Yeah, Bad Boys for Life, man. So like towards the end, you know, the climax of the movie, they're in a shootout, of course, everything's blowing up. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are, you know, covering behind a thick, like oak-looking table, and they're rolling it as they you know, go across the room.
All right.
So they get to the point where there's too many bad guys around, so they run away from the table, and in the background, the table blows up.
Too much gunfire, huh?
Blew up. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Now, what do you want to say that he's just making fun of us now, right? He's like, "Oh, dude, I got y'all's money. I got y'all's money, and I'm running to the bank."
I think he did this a couple of times, man. Because in the beginning, he has a cameo where he like introduces them at a wedding. He's like, you know, everyone's running the groom, and he does that dumbass heroic sweep that he does for no reason.
Yeah.
Where you literally have to turn around yourself in like 360, and the camera sweeps up from like the bottom all the way around.
You mean he's like 360 no scope
for no reason, right?
Just for this like wedding speech.
And it looks cool. It looks cool when you do it in slow mo, but he didn't do it in slow mo. He did it in regular time. So it looked like he was dancing for no reason. It was just. I was like, what? I was like, is he poking fun at everybody who just like says he's full of shit? You know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you a couple of things. Is I would say that it's possible Michael Bay may be aware that people make fun of his style, and therefore he's like, okay, cool, I can jab a stick back at you guys. And also, here's why I'll say it's possible: is a lot of people who are, I would say, relatively intelligent say that Inglourious Bastards from none other than Tarantino is sort of an interesting take on the way that we accept violence in filmmaking, especially his style of filmmaking. And if you look at it closely, some people have some pretty good arguments about why, you know, they're like, man, Tarantino, he just loves violence in his films. And I'm like, you might want to look closely at Inglourious Basterds and start to realize it's you like violence in films. And he's poking fun at you with this film, saying, look at how you like this. I'm going to turn it on its butt and you won't even notice unless you're smart. I think that's what it is. You'd have to look it up. I'm not going to tell you what it is right now.
I think it's intention. Like, I just recently watched The Hateful Eight two different times. They have The Hateful Eight on Netflix, and then a week later, I watched it. They had the extended version where they turned The Hateful Eight into 4 1-hour episodes of like a miniseries. So
I'll be damned.
Yeah, you can watch The Hateful Eight, and the episodes, the way that they cut them, there's added stuff in it from that you didn't see in the movie.
That's cool,
and it's cool. And what it is like, I think. Because when you mentioned Inglourious Basterds, the scene that comes to my mind is when Christoph Waltz is in the shack when he comes with his band of Nazis, I guess they are, and he's questioning some people that have some other people hidden in their home. And just like before the violence even starts, I mean, it's like 8 minutes of him kind of questioning them or having this conversation, and the tension there is kind of more powerful than even when the violence starts. It's almost like waiting for that to happen is worse than seeing what's going to happen to these people. Right.
I totally hear where you're coming from with it. And that's what I'm saying. Oh, really quick, I should say this because what was it? Jim Smith. Oh, shout out to Jim Smith because I like this. It's funny. He's like, Michael Bay minus explosions equals Scorsese. And you're like, that is funny. I find that funny. It's mildly humorous.
I really love that Bumblebee movie from a year or so ago. I think
I never saw it. Damn it, I never
saw it. Though, but if you get a chance, I think he just produced it. But it's like the best of the Transformers series.
Well, that's good, and that's a shame that if he, you know, because it's like, you know, to me that's the thing too. If a movie's good or whatever, if a production's good, it'll stand the test of time. I mean, it's time and time again why when I'm talking to people about like movies, I say like why I think some comedies are the wrong direction these days, because they're just trying to be comedy for comedy's sake and it's not funny. But when they have a message at the end, it ends up hitting stronger. Like, for example, Liar Liar, Mrs. Doubtfire. They're kind of farcical, ridiculous comedies, which are the guise over that they're dramas. And everybody's like, wait, what? And I'm like, here's Liar Liar. Liar Liar is about a bad human being. Jim Carrey, his character.
A lawyer.
Well, not because he's a lawyer, because he's such a cutthroat asshole one. And he's a crappy father. He's a crappy husband. And he's a crappy person. And they show it in every aspect of it. He doesn't give his assistant a gift. You know what I mean? She buys a gift for herself and signs it from him to her. Like, right?
It's been years since I've seen this one. I don't quite remember.
Oh, it's really funny. He's just like, she's like, oh, by the way, you're this, that, and the other, and da-da-da-da. And also you missed your mom's birthday. And she's like, oh, and she's like, don't worry, I got her a gift from you. And he's like, I always do the right thing, you know, or something like that, the classy thing or something. And you're like, okay. And of course they set it up this way. And at first you're thinking, okay, cool, I'm just going to watch an asshole. But by the time it gets to a certain point when he's, of course, not able to lie, the biggest moment in there is him going, let me tell you something. I'm a bad father. I'm a bad father, you know, and you're like, ooh. And then it's cool because Maura Tierney's character says, you're not a bad father when you're there, you know, and it kind of like makes everything turn serious. So it's like a drama, but it's got a farcical comedy as disguise. You know, he's running around doing his rubber face thing and he's going, the goddamn pen is blue.
That was hilarious. I mean, to me, the comedy movie that did that the best was Adam Sandler's movie with the remote control, and he would stop time and try to, like, you know, get the best.
That, in fact, that had the wonderful, beautiful, and talented Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah,
what a great name too, Beckinsale. You can't help but be awesome if your last name is Beckinsale, right? Yeah. But yeah, that's right. I think it was just called Rewind, or maybe like
Click, right?
Maybe like Click, yeah, Click. See what I mean? Like it helps you remember. You're like Click, Remote, Rewind. Yeah, see, my girl. Shout out to my girlfriend Zandra. She just walked in. She says hello.
Click
the lowdown on the Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah.
Do you guys watch Grandma's Boy?
PSA.
Well,
Okay.
what's that? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Have you guys seen Grandma's Boy?
Grandma's Boy. No, that doesn't sound
like
familiar.
that one. Although I haven't seen it in 10 years either. I wonder if it aged well.
Oh, I don't know. I guess I'd have to see it. But what was it about then?
It's about a video game company. They have like a guy in it that kind of looks like almost looks like a Mel Gibson.
Oh, really?
He's been a side character. You know, it's all kind of a group of people that make those movies. He's been in the background of some of the other movies. Like he was the bum in Happy Gilmore that was turned into the caddy. He was in a few of the other Adam Sandler movies, but now he's
it's like a running joke now. Really?
Now he's the front and center actor in this movie where he goes and gets a job at a video game company and he's a programmer or something. So they have all these funny characters at the video game company, including I think like is he the owner or the main like programmer who just has the sweetest like setup that you could ever imagine for a computer with all these monitors and like a reclining chair and all these arms that hold up the monitors that he's looking at. It's crazy.
Oh my God, that's cool. Well, that's the thing. I'll have to check it out. And that's the thing. There's so many films and pieces of art out there that they're so easy to miss, or like you just didn't see them. You know, like just if a movie went by, like I only saw in terms of like all these movies where it was all the award ceremonies and everything. I saw Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Great film. I personally think it's the best film of 2019, but I'm also biased because I didn't see The Irishman. I didn't see Infected or whatever that one is where Parasite. That's it, right? Because everybody's like, yeah, it's so awesome.
You are really gonna love my world's first lightsaber song because it's based off of the Mr. Rogers opening.
Wait, what?
I think you need to record it first before you say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna record it. Kevin's gonna help me. I'm gonna like put on. I'm gonna like walk in with like my lights or with my Jedi outfit and pretend like I'm Mr. Rogers. Right?
It's a beautiful day in the saberhood.
You got it. You got the first line already.
Beautiful day for a saber.
Would you
be mine? Is that really what you're doing?
That's his real song. I wrote it.
Oh my God. ST Production says Grandma's Boy was hysterical, but I think he's a little behind. I'm saying this is hysterical. I like that. That's great. I think that's even better than doing, what the hell did I do at one point? I finally released it, but nobody saw it. Was Sabers for Nothing. Did I ever release that? Maybe I didn't.
I don't know. What was the concept of the video?
I suck. I probably didn't. I think I only did, what was it? Prince LED. And then I did, what was the one? This was a triumph. I'm making a saber, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Lightsaber science. It was something like that. I released a video. It's probably on my channel, but nobody saw it. But I did another one called Sabers for Nothing and Your Kicks for Free, right? It's that
one sounds a little familiar.
Well, you know the one. It's the money for nothing and your chicks for free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the old school. It was like the first MTV song ever.
I don't know. I used to watch whenever you came out with a video, no matter how like silly it was or whatever, I watch it.
That's great. Well, then I'm glad you're doing this parody because it's fun to do those kind of. And that I never thought about that. That's a good idea. I like that. It's a beautiful day in the Saberhood. Should I have not announced it or what the hell?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think I've said it before, but I've been meaning to actually record it by now. But I'm trying to get Kevin to come over and kind of help me set it up. Maybe actually be the person like the cameraman, walk around, get my the shot that I need. And then he told me, afterwards I'll kind of I'll lay down the track like over. I don't have to. He says I don't have to. It doesn't have to come out good while he's recording the video, but then I recorded the song afterwards. So, okay, I think I could do that.
Oh, no, I know what you're saying. No, that's cool. Yeah, you just do the...
I'll walk around, do the cuts, right? I'll do the cuts. I'll sit down. I'll put the
shoes
boots on or take them off, however it goes. Wait, I got to rewatch the Mr. Rogers opening and then kind of mimic it a little bit. But the song is in that...
You got to go hang up your Jedi robe in the closet.
Yeah, I'll hang up my Jedi robe. I'll come home. I'll take off the boots, maybe unclip the sword.
Oh my God. And then someone's at the door and you accidentally cut off their arm. You're like, oh, what do we do to help out people who are hurting? Just say, I feel hurting. I'm hurting. That would be funny. You cut off my arm.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned someone ringing the doorbell, because right now I have this mat outside. Normal people have a mat that says welcome.
You said, did you just say normal people have a
mat that says welcome?
I was going to say more intrigue, Anthony.
Mine says go away.
Yours says go away. Okay.
Maybe we could sweep the camera over that first to kind of get the idea.
Well, you'll need something else like, force users welcome or something like that. Yeah, or something that would then tie into the whole Fred Rogers kind of thing. You'd be like, we're going to go watch it on picture, or what would it be? It'd be Roger.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then are you going to have like Daniel Tiger, but that could just be like Yoda and shit. Daniel Yoda.
That's funny.
This is good. I love it. These are great parodies. I love it. I bet it'll turn out great. Oh, and SD Productions got it. Thank you. Shout out to SD. Dire Straits. That was it goes, how does it go? Oh my God. I don't even know the lyrics off the top of my head with this song. It goes, we got to move these microwave ovens. Got to move these color TVs. We got to move these refrigerators. We got to move these color TVs. Sting was a guest singer on that song. Dire Straits. It was money for nothing, chicks for free. I forgot how it goes. Anyway. Oh, cool. Mundo. Yeah, he's back. Sorry to hear your child was in the physical therapy, he said. But he says, Space, you're going to be up there with Weird Al Yankovic's song, Someday Going to Be a Jedi. Long time ago.
Mundo had sent me that song, and
oh yeah, it's great.
I had seen it for the first time. I'm surprised I hadn't seen it when it first came out, but that was hilarious. Wow.
Oh yeah, well, it was a long time ago actually with Weird Al, to a point. Yeah.
It was like when the prequels came out, he had come out with that song, and I somehow I was so in with the prequels. I mean, when they were coming out with those, the internet was still dial up and everything else, and
I remember that those days.
Try to get in to see the news, and George Lucas was putting out a lot of content. I mean, it was like the most content any movie was ever. It's like by taking all these little fractal pieces that he was dropping like a photo a day for 30 days, like leading a video a week. And it would be like a 30-minute video of a backstage thing. It was amazing. It'd be like Ewan McGregor getting the makeup put on for Obi-Wan. And
yeah,
it was
I remember
cool.
that.
They would have a little conversation, but the internet was so bad. It's like, it would take like all day for me at work to download the 30-minute video. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't, but they had a lot of content and a lot of backstage stuff. I actually feel like it was more than what we got for like episodes 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, and I agree. Yeah,
they were trying to like pull it back a little more, which I totally get. Like J.J. Abrams wanted it to be more like a secret, and the internet was getting so crazy that even trying to become a secret, it's still going to get out. I get it, but I loved what they did with the prequels because they really were throwing out a lot of stuff and giving you a lot of stuff every week.
Right. No, I mean, that's the thing too. I kind of remember that, and I remember some of those things. Like I love this, the great one with Ewan walking in when Hayden's there, and he's like walks in and he's like, oh, hello, and then he's like, oh, are you getting a Jedi mullet? And he's like, whoa, top man. And it was so funny. I was like, what? It was so good. I was just like, what the hell?
And then, I bet you got a kick out of it too when they kind of heavily went in with the Nick Gillard and the sword fighting.
Oh my God, that was funny.
Background videos, and they included those videos. Like if you bought the DVDs, I think you got those videos too. If you bought like the Sith DVD, but yeah, they showed it, and they were doing it kind of in real speed and like really fast. They had learned the moves so well, and they had said that they had practiced for whatever it was 4 months on that fight, that they could do it very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I have a funny thing about that. Two things really is one, I have this great clip that I had of, I mean, it was just taken from the sound clip of Nick Gillard. He was having this, why are these always so funny? He was having this conversation with Ewan and he's like takes him aside, and they were talking about lightsaber colors, right? And Nick literally in his very thick, accent, he's like, Darth Vader's was lilac. And then Luke, and he's like, I thought, and then Ewan's like, I thought he was always red. And he's like, oh, red, right. And then he saw, and then Skywalker's was blue. And he's like, right, blue. And I was like, that was about the funniest thing I've ever heard. He says Darth Vader's saber was colored lilac. And I was like, what?
I wonder if you kind of that it looked a little crimson, especially in the Empire Strikes Back, didn't it?
But lilac? I think lilac is very pink, man. I couldn't remember. But it was the funniest thing. And then the other story part of it is, so I was supposed to take a combat workshop from Nick Gillard a long time ago. I don't remember what year it was. It was like, I don't know, 2000, I don't know, 9, 10, 11. I don't know. Why did I turn into Harrison Ford suddenly? But I mean, something had happened. I think his sister got sick. It was something bad. It was last minute. But Kyle Rawlings, whatever, taught it instead. So I had a short video of him where I asked, hey, would you kick me on camera? Because Kyle's this beast of a man. He's huge. He's probably like Jason Momoa or something, but big old foot, and so I have a short video of him just like, I was just like, hey, special shout out to Kyle. He's awesome. And then he's like, and just kicks me, and it was just for fun. And it was funny because, I said, here, hold this saber. And he's like, whoa, did you make this or something? I said, yes, I did. And he says, oh, good on you. And I was like, okay. But I was just like, here, fire up the saber. Let's get some video, and then just kick me really hard. So that was cool. I have video proof that Kyle Rawlings kicked me.
Like a sidekick?
No, I just said, or I don't know if I told him what I just said, I guess right here in the chest is like, I'm down with that. Hit me and I'll go. And so I think he just did a front kick, really. Oh yeah. Cause I made it where I said, I'm going to reach to shake your hand, and you're going to like grab my hand and be like, and then let go. And I'm like, so you can see it on there. You just might put Nova Star, then Kyle Rowell, like if you can't spell Rowlings, but it's like just
J.K. Rowling.
I think it's the same spelling, yeah, but with an S, Rowlings. But it doesn't matter. I mean, like people can look it up if they want. I don't even know what keywords it's under. Part of it too was there was a little bit going on with this one friend of theirs. He was also a stunt guy, and he was also in, oh my God, I can't remember what it was. Oh, Spartacus of Blood and Sand. Kyle was in that with, I forget his name because it's been so many years. That's how bad my memory is. But anyways, and he had just, it was just a shame. He had died of pancreatic cancer or something really awful. I don't remember exactly what it was, but so I was like, hey, I want to donate some of these things and stuff. So I did that while we were there. And then I also gave him some DVDs too, the DVD stuff. I had signed them for both him and Nick. I don't think they ever got it, or, I mean, well, obviously Kyle did, but Nick probably didn't, but it doesn't matter. But I mean, I was just, it was, I was just trying to do something. I think I donated a few things and just went, I'm really sorry to hear this about, I forget that guy's name, but he was in Spartacus of Blood and Sand with Kyle. I don't know how we got on that subject, but there you go.
I think this is the video.
Oh God, this is a blast from the past. Oh, 2012. Wow, was that far back? Wow, I'm old. But then, yeah, I don't know. They're probably signed. You'd probably have to fast forward to the clip, unless it was at the beginning. Did it look like some dude was kicking me? Oh, okay. Maybe the kick. Maybe the one
that matched the name Rowling when I looked it up.
Oh yeah, maybe there's maybe you have to put like he kicks me or something like that. Like I don't know, or is it at the beginning of the clip? Really? It's not there, or I don't even know. See, this just tells me I don't remember anything about my own things. Is he? Nope, I didn't. So I guess it's probably like you might have to put Nick or Kyle Rowlings kicks Nova Star.
Oh, okay.
Try that if you want. I mean, I don't care. We don't have to do this. I don't want you to have to waste your time doing it. But I'm just curious. I'm like, I could have sworn that I put this on there, and then just put kick. Yeah, Nova Star. Yeah, who knows? I wonder because I don't know what I put in the damn thing. Oh yeah, Kickstarter. Oh, that's right. Because we talked about. Gosh, what was his name? Andy Whitfield. Yeah. That's the guy who lost his. Yeah, so look at, he's just a beast of a dude. And then he's like, watch, we go like this. And he's like, die.
It looks like you got kicked by Sabretooth.
I don't know who that is. But there you go. It's like.
From the X-Men.
Oh, I didn't know.
Like a Wolverine's enemy.
Like yeah, but you could see that just the size of his foot, right? He was like, I don't know, he's got like a size, 100 foot. But the point was, yeah, it was funny. He was cool. And I think it was really cool of him to teach the workshop in lieu of Nick, even though the point was he was going to assist, but like everything last minute, Nick was probably like, yo, I can't do this. My sister's in the hospital, or I'm not sure exactly, but it was like family member, hospital, Nick can't come. I found out while I was there. So it wasn't like a week before, I don't think. I don't remember exactly, but either way, I was like, whoa, that must have been a little tough. Like, imagine if you were an assistant at any workshop of any sort for a subject, and they're like, okay, you go ahead, you're going to do it. And you're like, what? Okay. Like, thanks.
I think that happened to me one time when I was, like my martial arts instructor makes me sometimes teach a class, but this was like early on in the beginning, and, I think he couldn't make it, and so I had to run this class for like 2 hours.
But I mean, did you feel prepared, or were you like, no? I was like, what?
It was okay, but I wasn't comfortable with like my level of experience. He was the 4th degree black belt. I don't even have a black belt. So,
but I mean, and also you felt like you're like, dude, even me trying to teach sidekick, like it's jank.
Right. Well,
yeah.
For the stuff that they wanted to know, it was okay. But it was early for me to be going there. Or like,
I think I copy you there. Yeah, like I totally understand. Like I know what that could feel like, and I've tried never to put anybody in those positions. And I know that like I was lucky, at least for the disputes or whatever thoughts that I'd have with my fencing master or whatever. Like when he had me teach classes, he always made sure I was pretty prepared. You know, and I remember I was super frightened the first time I gave an actual physical fencing lesson. Like, right, because the day comes where it's like, give that kid a private lesson. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, oh no. And it's like, he's like,
he knows all the ins and outs of like when someone asks like, well, what happens if more pressure is applied here? Then
exactly
the right answer. Like, oh, well, you just step in then.
Or just
or whatever. And I don't know those answers. So I only knew what we went over 3 and 4 times in preparation for that class, and I didn't know all the extra stuff. And
well, not to mention the fact that sometimes the answer is that's a really good question, and that's different for everybody, or I mean, it's plausible.
Let's try it, or if it's something like that, you might have to be like, well, let's try it.
Agreed. I totally agree. I mean, and I always thought this is something that I think that's hard for certain environments of teacher-student, which is in the right teaching and student environment, both can learn, but it also depends, because it's possible you have students who walk in pretentious or presumptuous, or they're not so much an empty vessel as they're waiting for you to do your job and make them awesome. And that's sometimes the wrong attitude to approach as a student. As a student, you should be more about like understanding the learning process, and then like going through that. Questions are definitely okay, but some of them you're going to ask, and they're going to be like, not the questions to the universe, but it's like, yeah, like that's a good question. And there's no like, it's like if someone said, so how do I punch, sir? And you're like, right. So
I need to see your punch first, I guess, right?
Yeah, you're like, okay, show me what it is. And that's why I loved what Bruce Lee did in Enter the Dragon with his lesson, where he's like, it's Lao's time, right? Because he's like, have some tea, Mr. Braithwaite. And then he's like, oh, it is Lao's time. And he's like, whatever, by all means, teach your lesson. And he's like, bow, right? Kick me. And he's like, what? Kick me. So he's like, demonstrates a side kick in the air with this sort of, and then remember they step back and he goes, what was that? An exhibition? We need emotional content. Now, try again. And then he's like, they show the kid getting angry, and then he's like, and he goes, I said emotional content, not anger. Now try again with me. And then they kind of do a little bit of motion. And the reason is, it's like, yeah, like when you say kick me, what does it really mean to have the right technique? Is it all about physics and that's all? Even when I taught some of that materials of like tricking on the DVDs, I'm only showing you the breakdowns of the actions, but a lot of it has to do with your spirit. Like, what do you intend to do with this move? Like, why are you doing it? It's like, come on.
You know what I love to do with that energy? It's like the same type of idea, but I love to turn a crappy day or a headachy day or whatever, a day that you don't want to do that, You don't want to train. You don't want to do that. And then you go and you actually have to do it. And it just kind of turns the day around.
Yeah, that's another definitely great thing to think about, is it's so easy to not want to do something or not be motivated, but then you go and do it, and like good stuff happens when you have it's something that I love, even from like Denzel Washington quotes, or just, you know, successful people. They say discipline and consistency. You know, a lot of people talk about that in the writing process. Oh, what do you do when you get writer's block? I'm like, you go and write. And they're like, no, I mean, I can't write anything. I'm like, you sit your butt in the keyboard, you sit your butt in the chair and type on the keyboard and do what you're going to do. Now, if you're not creative, you might say, I got to go do something else. But it's like, you have to have the discipline
or something.
Exactly. But you have to have the discipline and consistency to say, I'm going to try to make this happen. Like, I can't sit around and wait, you know, and hope that God stops the bullets, as they say for Pulp Fiction. You mean that God came down and stopped the bullets? You know, like, you can't. You kind of have to say, okay, I got to start thinking. Okay, Diamond Dragons. What about this character? What about that one? And what about this thing? You know, when this guy does this thing, and then this guy dies, and then this thing. You have to like put the work in. You know, so like I feel like that's also important with back in the day with the martial arts and the stuff of when I think about the DVDs, I feel like the reason that maybe some people progressed or they did not was based on solely that, and it wasn't always about did they follow the DVDs exactly, but it's more like if you didn't do any work, you didn't get better. Like, right?
Are you checking out anybody's fights, like anybody's choreographed lightsaber duels or fights nowadays online? And if so,
no.
What do you like?
No, I haven't. I mean, I know nothing about it in terms of a specificity. Like, I haven't looked at anything that had to do with lightsaber stuff since a long time. What is it? Other than like saying, you know, the film's like, oh, look, the film, and that's it. And I try to stay away from all like teasers and spoilers and stupid things. And also, I just don't have the time for that. Like, I'm developing Diamond Dragons and then trying to just make a living has been extremely difficult. So like, it takes up all of my time. Obviously, I have my wonderful girlfriend. Shout out to her. You know, Xandra.
Are you still there? Oh, I think we lost Nova Star. Kev, let's see what you're doing with that. That looks crazy. Looks like you went in. Looks like I think we lost Nova Star, but oh no, here he's back. Looks like you went in on the.
Yeah, sorry about that. It just dropped me. That's all.
Yeah, I think I lost you for a second.
No worries. Yeah. But I forgot what I said. Oh, yeah, I've just been focused on doing the things that I'm doing, and I want to develop them, and I just don't have a lot of interest for going into those things. I feel like I've done my part, you know, and my roles and stuff. And like, you know, if I ever wanted to do another, like some kind of a saber thing or performance or something, I would want it to be innovative and not just be, okay, look, it's more of the same. Does that make any sense what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, one of the successors to Nova Star, I think, happening online right now is a guy called Mike Starwalker. He's the one that I follow anyway. I kind of started following him on Instagram a couple years ago, maybe, and then he started a YouTube channel. And so a lot of the people, he became really, really popular on Instagram with these really short clips of these extended fights that he does in front of like sports arena. Like, you know, let's say there's a baseball game in his town. He will do this performance like before the game or after the game, however it goes down, and record it, and then post bits and pieces of it on Instagram, and then post the full fight on YouTube or something like that. So if you ever get a chance to look at Mike Starwalker, and the reason why I say that he's kind of like Nova Star too is that he's also, you know, building sabers in the background and stuff like that, kind of tinkering with the sabers, getting into building his own, building them for other people. And
well, yeah, that's good.
And the fights are like original too. So it's like he makes up the moves. They kind of have a little story behind them, whether it be like, let's say some expanded universe, like storyline, like they might, you know, he might say this is well, he's done some where he's like, this is Rey versus Kylo or something, but he's also done some where he's like preparing for one where I think it's going to be like Jaina Solo, which is an expanded universe character, Han Solo's daughter, versus Han Solo's son, Jason Solo, because there's a big fight that happens in the books.
Well, yeah, I even heard, in fact, I think Gravy mentioned that a million years ago, and I can't believe I'm making that reference, but like, we did this light whip versus saber video a million years ago,
I
and
saw
it was
that.
cool.
Yep,
I think it was 2009.
I had a few of them. I think there was like 2 or 3 or 4 videos where you were versus this a light whip, or you had.
That doesn't sound right. I don't know if there were 2 or 3 or 4, but like we did this one major thing where just a couple of different people held the whip. Actually, it doesn't matter. Mostly it was just Gravy. We were just experimenting. But anyway, he when Gravy was not in front of the camera, he was like, "Hey, this reminds me of some book," and he's like, "Jason Solo was fighting somebody, and she had a whip or something," and I'm like, cool. So like, yeah, that's something that I like to hear. Like if I hear that people are trying to be innovative, they're trying to bring up like something new to add to the equation. And it's something that I can say, big shout out to my man, Hans Wickling, who unfortunately passed away September, October. I told some of the lightsaber community about this by posting it on my channel. If you've been affected by, Saber Combat DVD 2, you would recognize some of Hans's work, but he unfortunately passed away and I miss him dearly. He was my friend, my associate, and also my private instructor for tricking. But anyway, is that Hans would have said it's important for innovation to keep moving and like flow. Like, you want the art to keep rolling like it's on a river and not, shout out with that video. So, if people check it out, Hans was the man. So much love. Yeah, and he would do that. He'd be coming at you, coming through was his phrase, but I like his little, with his bow, he does kind of like the everything's going to be okay kind of thing, you know what I mean, with the fingers, and then the fist. But anyway, I think that's important, that innovation has to be there, and some people are absorbing the innovation by being more on the customer ends and just seeing what has to offer, which isn't bad, and then the others are creating it. You know what I mean?
Some people start out at the customer end too, and then eventually like have an innovation themselves, want to get
hashtag true, like totally hashtag true, exactly. Like I love that too. Like I like seeing that from the community.
A lot of people start out that way too, is with the sound fonts, believe it or not. Like that's kind of something that you opened up that I noticed over the years, where people that started doing the sound fonts first would kind of roll into making sabers, getting into the electronics.
It's the gateway drug or something.
Kind of like a way in for someone that wanted to start out with like, I don't want to make a board or make a computer chip of my own or make a lightsaber, but I would love to have a specific font and then to kind of get in that way.
Yeah, right. It's the gateway drug. And then really quick, Mundo, thank you. Shout outs. Thank you for doing shout outs to Hansi. He was dope. You got to watch that guy's martial arts too. But I mean, yes, like exactly.
Yeah, you got to go check out the video Novastar made in tribute to his friend.
Well, yeah, I included on that video a lightsaber fight between me and him, and it was supposed to be part of the pinnacle of the learning that goes to the DVD sets, where he has a saber and I do not. So
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and it actually, we weren't actually to complete it. I still wanted to perform backflip in it to be as an evasion, just like I did in Balance of Power in 2006, and then also butterfly twist, which I also performed in different occasions as well. Which the point would be not to show off, but to go, these were things you learned on the DVDs, and therefore you can incorporate them in so that people could then start to really see how it all bleeds together, is that you take all the learning and then you rearrange it in the ways that make sense. You don't reinvent the wheel. And that's something that I have to say is I was bummed about with the community, is that what happened was at one point in the community with sabers, and I mean, it was reflected in all aspects of it, electronics, the physical characters, and choreography and fight work. Everybody kept trying to reinvent the wheel. So they would re-release, here's a new system, here's another system, here's our system, this is this. And I'm like, it doesn't matter the system. It matters how you arrange the components that create those things. So it's like, if someone were to say, I'm going to invent the new boxing style. You're like, no, you're not. But if you do your own punches and kicks and this and that, you have your own MMA style. So that's cool, So I like seeing it when people would combine a lot of aspects of things and like do something new and creative, as opposed to saying, okay, we already know there's targets at the legs and the arms and the head, so let's just reinvent that. You're like, wait, what? You're like, they're already there. Just use the components. Like I'm still waiting. One of these days, there has to be some saber spin, like katas or something that are like a challenge. Like people do their own personal moves, and it's
that'd be
like
cool. Like a little thing where you could show it on TCSS or something.
But beyond that, and I've always been trying to purport this to the community, but I never got a chance to really release it in true form because, a long time ago, like way before all the, sparring, groups have come out or even academies, I wanted to say, hey, we should do this. There should be a sparring system. There should be a point system. There should be rules. There should be this. There should be these nuances that make it partly more Star Warsian, and cooler, but not janky and stupid. Like, I have to admit, I don't like it if it's like, oh, if your arm gets cut off, just fight with one arm. If your leg gets cut off, hop on one leg. No, that's just stupid. It looks dumb. So I wouldn't do that. But my point is that I could see how people could incorporate some like 360 spins, like whether it's your body spin or 360, throw the saber in the air, catch it, and be throwing like a hook kick and, like, do these cool katas where you're like include all these different basic rudimentary moves, but you throw them all together and you've got something cool. So you got like, you spin the saber figure 8 in your hands, throw a hook kick, throw the saber up, throw, a jumping this crescent kick. And then when you land, boom, catch the saber. And you're like, whoa, that's cool. He included a 360 hand toss, which we kind of taught those on DVD too. Toss and switch toss.
See, I would do all that, but it'd be all special effects.
No, I'm saying you could learn these, Anthony. The things that we were teaching individually on the DVDs are not that complex. It's the combination of all the things and trying to do them all in quick succession where they blend together. Those are the nuances. So it's kind of funny. We never got to teaching about like transitions, and that would have been kind of a place that I would go with the whole, like, what happens when you want to, do 360, this kind of thing, then hand pass, switch over to this, saber toss, body spin, hook kick, catch the saber, and then some fight action. So there's like all these cool, I think, combinations that are open, and it could be related to the way you see like B-boy moves, like they'll do battles. There should totally be battles in Saber World with certain moves, throwing kicks, doing saber tricks, and then you're done. You do like a 5-second combo, and then you're like, boom, over to you. And then Anthony's like, oh yeah, so you think you're going to show me up? And then you're like, did you show your moves? And then everybody's like, oh, look how he ended with backflip. And then I'd be like, okay, cool. You think you're cool, Anthony? Watch this. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And with like a 720 double or something. And people are like, what did Nova just throw down? Those would be cool ways, in my opinion, of progressing the saber art forward, and also embedding and applying some of the great things that we've learned from not only like the b-boy art, breakdancing, if people don't know what I'm saying when I say b-boy, but and also tricking, which you guys are familiar with, even at a taste of me doing it at my low and janky level in the past. Only in the past. I don't do it anymore.
ST Production says, Anthony, did you see Lord Blako has been converting some fonts to work with the new boards, including Pitch Black? It's re-released and a little reinvented. Now, I haven't seen that yet, but I do like Pitch Black a lot. There was one pop. Does anybody else get that pop in Pitch Black? I get one pop. That's one thing I don't like about it.
Quick shout outs to Lord Blako for the font work. Woot.
It's great. I love the bass that he gets in his fonts. It's always consistent with that bass. It's like really nice, especially because a lot of these newer hilt builds include these 4-watt speakers, these 3-watt 8-ohm speakers, which actually can produce the sound a lot nicer.
You're preaching to the choir on that one. It's funny, even 5-6 years ago, even when I was still doing this stuff. Yeah, where do you think? What do you think I was putting into my sabers? I was actually putting, at a certain point, I had 45 millimeter speakers in Flange 3, and
oh, nice.
Yeah,
did you buy it from Hyperdyne?
No,
they
never.
Had some like big
never
over there.
No, I mean, no offense to people out there, but I would not have bought from that guy because of a lot of reasons. It was just like that's not the direction I'm going. But the point is, I was saying is that like my goals always when I was doing this stuff with the saber work wasn't ever to be like, I want to be a mogul. I was just like, why can't this be bigger or something? Or, hey, why can't this be over here? Why can't this be smaller? How about we do it like this? That was pretty much it. Like the reason I even asked Irv to implement the anti-power off kind of thing was simply because I was like, for stage work, it's pretty awesome. you don't have as much chance to accidentally shut off your saber, because I think a lot of people didn't know what the relevance was, like why it was that's cool feature, but why? I'm like, that's the why. It came from me, no joke. You can ask her if he would echo it. I was just like, you should have it where there's a mode where you have to hit both buttons to shut it down, power on and aux. And I liked it with the latching switch too for power on, because then you'd have to physically move the switch down and press auxiliary. And for you to accidentally do that while you were manipulating your saber, it was just ridiculous. Like, it was really hard to do that, which is a good thing. But if you wanted to do it on purpose, it was like super easy. So that is exactly what I designed in my mind. And then when I communicated that idea to Irv, he's like, oh yeah, that's no problem, Matthew. I will implement that right away. No problem. And I'm like, yeah, he's awesome. And there's so many stories I could probably tell you one day, with the whole crystal focus building and stuff. I can even tell you about this one fun issue that Irv and I had. We were trying to bug hunt on this particular board that he had done some jankery with, just so I could do something unique with the board that had nothing to do with lightsabers, really. So it's not even worth going to do. But it was so funny. Like, we were like, why is this not working? And at first he thought I had done something wrong, and I had told him, dude, I've triple, quadruple, quintuple checked this. Like, it's nothing on my end. And then finally we were like, oh my God. And we had used 9 characters for a file name. And that was in the hardware code. It's a long story. And he's just like, oh my God. And I was like, damn it, we suck. Both of us missed that. But it just shows that bug hunting can be like the most obvious thing, but it's so obvious you don't look at it because you assume it's correct. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks too. You're just like, wait, what? So like, that was so funny.
Amundo's letting you know that your page looks awesome there.
Oh, okay. What page is he talking about? I don't even know what it means.
For Kev, the one Kevin's drawing there.
Yeah.
Kev, zoom in there because I want to see what you're doing. Actually, let me. I can make your screen.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I see it now. For some reason, it glitched out on mine for a second, and then there it is. Yeah, that looks like
you're putting a lot of detail into that singer.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Hold on. Let me switch.
It's like blurry or something.
Oh, the focal range is jank or something like that right now.
Yeah.
Clear a minute ago.
Let's switch the camera real quick.
Yeah, all good. Yeah. But also for me, the live comments. Oh, one more time I should mention real quick, guys. So for me, live comments, I can't type into them. I don't know if Anthony.
Oh, actually, I found out the thing to that. You can't do it because I don't know why, but like when I was a guest on Kevin's, I couldn't type into the comments either. I don't know why exactly, but in the private, you could chat, or if you're hosting, like I could put in a comment if I wanted to.
Copy that. And then Kevin, that looks bloody fantastic. So shout outs.
Kev, hold that up again.
Yeah, this awesome artwork. I love it.
Singer look good.
Boom. That's another one. That's nice. Boom.
Soul Gibson jamming out.
See, guys, if you're not with Albatross, where are you, son? Where are you? That's going to be your new tagline. If you're not paying attention to comic book Albatross, where are you, son? You know where. You know where.
That works. Works.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's my thoughts, Anthony, on the on that stuff. So I kind of like, that was another reason why I was like, I don't know if I want to, end up staying with all the saber stuff. That was only one part of it, but a lot of it was just like, oh man, I got some other things I want to do. But I like to see innovation. And that's always a good thing, where the innovation is real innovation, and it's not just like, hey, I added a new feature on a board, or hey, look guys, I did a thrust now with a saber that has, a tri-blade on it. And you're like, yeah, well, a thrust is still a thrust, so who cares? You know what I mean? Like, no offense. There's certain things that are labeled innovation, but they're not. And then you have real innovation where you're like, whoa, what's up with that? Like, has anyone ever seen that move in this regard? And you're like, no, that's a new move. That happens in tricking a lot, but not like often, but it happens a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, new stuff gets invented, and then people start building off of it.
Right?
Say again?
It's like a leap forward.
Yeah, no, it really is. Like, for example, I think I even might have said this in the last video, I don't remember, but there was this young guy, well, I guess he's older now, but Scott Skelton, so shout out to Scott, who landed the first triple cork for tricking. And we were all like watching that clip, and it just blew a lot of people's minds away because everybody else was like, it's impossible. No one will ever learn a triple. It's just too much. No amount of physics can allow you. It's too much, blah, blah. And, you know, you had half of the people going, yeah, it's impossible. And the other half was like, I don't know, you know, and then Scott was just busy working on it, and then he did it, and then other people started falling into that and going, yo, 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 yo. So that was cool. And oh, look at, so SD Production says, I don't remember a pop or a click, I guess, in the pitch black font, but he says pitch black has some awesome force effects that sound like a thunderclap.
Oh, that's cool. That's got to be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I did some sound fonts where it was about rain a lot. Like there was several thunder sword thing-ish fonts. I don't remember them all. What was it called? It was called, oh yeah, Rain Sizzle 2.
Rain Sizzle was the one that I thought was most like the scene from the Clone Wars. Where they're...
I don't even know. Like that's the thing, only because I never saw it. But later someone told me about it, and then they had me do a font that was around it. I think that was the Saber Sizzle, you know?
Right.
Yeah, but I just like invented. In fact, I might as well reveal, I will reveal secrets. The first one, when I did it, it was more like the sounds of cooking like meat and eggs and stuff.
Yeah, I could see that. That.
I mean, not like in specificity, but it was like portions of it. And then like, it's really hard to explain to people because then they'll think, oh, that's what he used, or, oh, that's so cheap and jank. And I'm like, well, it's not just that. Like a lot of people know this or they don't, but the original lightsaber, the original blaster sound that Ben Burtt came up with, he even said it was sort of like banging on a cable with a metal thing, like a wrench or something metal in your hand, banging on a cable that is like a really taut long cable with like curls in the wire, you know, for strength, like on a spring cable. So it kind of had that
like a reverberation to the length of it or something.
However, and this is important, of course, what do you think Ben Burtt did? Did he leave it that way? No, he's like, and then I heavily did this effect and that effect and reverse and this and time crunch and process the sound with his own creativity. And then he came up with a nice laser blast sound. And then of course, sound designers would always try to copy him. And if you do it really non-layered, it sounds kind of thin and boring and you know. So that's kind of the thing, is people would say, oh, Ben Burtt said this is how he made the sound. I'm like, yeah, but he's not going to tell you like every component. He's just going to say like that was the basis. Like he said the same thing he walked by at the time, remember he was recording like in the 70s. So he had his recorder on and he walked by a television that was on, but the sound was off. You know, like the sound was turned down, like physically. And I'm talking about an old cathode ray tube, CRT TV. And when he walked by, his mic picked up this kind of, and he was like, what was that? And he's like, oh, that was the feedback from the signal from the CRT by me walking by the monitor. And because I was walking by, it started weak, got strong, and then weak. So that became the basis, again, the basis and not the 100% of the original lightsaber. You know, it's no joke. You can go look all that stuff up. But, you know, because it's Ben Burtt's words, not like, oh, I heard this from Bob and he heard it from Millie and you know, what, you know, it's like the truth with it.
Yeah.
But again, it was just the basis. And then I'm sure he did all sorts of wonderful, you know, processing and mixing and this and, ooh, okay, I'm going to try that. And then of course, that's how many more different types of sounds like that were done, you know, like, I don't know if I ever revealed to people how I got my Kylo Ren style one, the one that I called Solo Killer. You know, the sound behind the hum was very unique. I don't think I ever told people what that was. Basically, again, it was basically, you know.
All right, well, I think we've come to the end of this episode of Comic Book Creation Live, number 27. Kev, I do want to see what you're working on for the last frame, though. I want to see.
All right, sweet.
What you're doing. But I was on page 16. I I got a little bit done on page 6. You know, I'm not that happy with it, but I want to go in and kind of make this guy look cooler. This is Donovan. This is our main dude here.
I like it.
And his friend here, John Dobbs, is going to be standing near him. And also they're in the top panel, which is hard to see because it's in blue. But maybe the next episode we'll get deeper into this page. Kev's been coloring. What page is that? That's page...
It's one of the early ones, like 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's basically page 1 right after the opener, which is like a little vignette we have.
Yeah, but some of that changed a little bit, right?
Yeah, so I think it extended by a page or 2. So instead of a 4-page opener, I think it's like a 5 or 6-page opener now. So
that's still cool. You guys can always figure out what to like put on the chopping block in the story and how to like renovate and refine and do all the things that you want to do. That's the beauty of like making art, is like you can never make too much because you can always chip away and say that piece of art's not making it into the end result, not because it sucks, but just we're already full.
Yeah,
you know,
not fit or whatever the case may be. It actually turned out that with that opener, we increased the page just a little bit just to get another. You know, we wanted to drive home a few more facts about the world. Mm-hmm. Kevin had a couple ideas on how to do that. The world is pretty dark, so we have a few panels now where it's like pitch black. Speaking of the pitch font, it's a pitch black. And then you make comments about, you know, hey, get that generator back on and stuff like that. So you kind of get the idea that, okay, you know, they need this thing to keep warm and to have light and stuff like that. So then the power comes on, and
they're gonna die in minutes.
Well, they end up dying in a few minutes after that.
It's funny you mentioned real quick too, is I was just in a screenwriting forum or whatever page, Facebook, whatever they call them today, forum page, whatever. And we were talking about that concept. Like some people were like, I don't like using things like artificial timers and da da da. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Those are like some of the greatest things. So it almost just brings this whole discussion full circle, because I know that one of the first topics you were talking about was how, you know, there's like this timer, you know, where it's like, you know, you only have 30 seconds to live. You only have.
Yeah, no matter how much I don't want to admit it, every movie that we love has a timer. You know, even our favorite movie, Star Wars, when you go in and look, they're saying, you know, the Rebel planet will be in range in 30 minutes.
But like, I mean, in a way, I balk at you saying I don't want to admit it, because think about it. That's what makes life or drama interesting, is like when there's a time limit, you now have a serious obstacle. You must get this accomplished by this time. And think about it. That's kind of what Mission Impossibles are sort of like too, but not really. It's like the timeline a lot of times is kind of stretched out until, say, the bomb is.
Yeah, or like there's a timeline and a timeline and a timeline and a time, you know, because it's like, well, we got to get to this girl because she's got the code, right. And then we finally get to that girl, but you know, she has amnesia. We got to go find who hit her on the head and stuff like that.
Precisely, and this is one of the reasons. I know I should stop with this because otherwise we'll extend this so long. But in Diamond Dragons, there's essentially, without giving away pretty much anything, there's actually at least 2 clocks running. And one of them is delivered to you in a way that you won't expect.
That's cool.
The other one is delivered to you in a way that you think you expect, but you'll find, no, sorry, you don't expect that one either.
Yeah, one of the points we kind of put in those opening pages as well was another, in a sense, time limit, because one of the people say that, you know, every year it's just getting colder and colder because
the sun
is not there. So it's just worse and worse. I mean, Kevin talked about the actual temperatures that it would become without a sun, and it's like minus 180. It's like the type of thing that like you can't have anything exposed; it will freeze immediately.
Right.
There's one scene where a monster rips apart a person in our story in the beginning there, and just to kind of show what's possible here, a monster like claws a person, and as their body gets ripped apart and the blood squirts, it freezes in the air.
See, that's I don't sounds weird for me to say this. It's a beautiful image. It's not beautiful, but it's a beautiful image to demonstrate a lot of things can be established within, arguably, you know, someone might even say it was motion. You'd be like, that's 3 seconds. We could establish a lot of stuff, and people could be like, you know, and you can also foreshadow things. You could be like, you could tell an audience member, be like, what do you want to bet someone's going to die that way later who's super important. It's going to be like, no, Maria, no. And then it's like, and not to mention, there's a great moment in, Mission to Mars. Everybody kind of knows the scene if they've seen it. It's the one with Tim Robbins and Gary Sinise and Connie Nielsen. She's the one who gets to witness this, but Woody is floating towards the sun, the character Woody, and he can't control his motion anymore. He's in a spacesuit. They're all in spacesuits, you know? And she's like, I'm coming out to get you. And he's like, no, if you come out here, you won't be able to get back to the ship. And she's like, I'm coming. I'm not going to let you die. And he's like, I can't let you do it. And he takes his helmet off. And you're just like, no. And it's actually a very beautiful scene, too. It's the kind of scene that you're just like, damn it, you know? But no, it's really done well. It's one of my favorite scenes. Yeah. There's a piece of music in it by Ennio Morricone, and it's the most fantastic piece of music, you know, but it's some of the inspiration that I'm hoping to get a little bit of that in the music that Amon, my composer for Diamond Dragons, is going to be able to produce in a certain moment that's very similar to that, but not like under the same circumstances. But anyway, yeah, like I love it. Yeah, you guys got to send me some of your things. Like if you want to bounce any story items off of me, I would love to at least read them and then be like, this is my thought process. Like, oh, you know, I think this is good, or, oh, you might think about cutting this, or, oh, you might think about this, and I'm confused here, I'm not confused there. Like if you want any thoughts on it.
That sounds cool. Yeah, we could do something like that. It's like some of the stuff is kind of I would actually like for you to see it and for you to tell me how messy it is. Like if I sent you the first like 10 pages or something.
No, that's what I mean. And understand, like we should be like Dora. No, I'm serious. Like I know you might be like, oh, I'm nervous, but it's like, think of it like this. That's the only way that you'll figure out if audiences will be able to respond to it in the way that you want. Like, in other words, I always look at it like this. If you're writing or drawing or whatever, you're trying to communicate a story. The point is, if you communicate it to yourself, that's one thing, but you know the elements of your story back, forth, up, and down for the most part. The point is, can you do it to someone who has no idea whatsoever about anything in your universe? And can you unfold it in a way that they don't get, you know, whatever, bored, lost, overwhelmed, overly confused, or just be like, well, but I know they want me to care about this character, but I don't. I hate them. Like, what if you done that? Like, I've seen that before where I was reading, I'll give it to you like this. I read about 35 scripts in the last, I don't know, 6 months or something. And I've been, you know, sending mine out, portions of mine out for people to read of mine. A lot of them I read, I'm like, ooh, I think they wanted this person to be the hero. I hate them. They're terrible people. They're really bad. And it's not necessarily that being bad is a terrible thing. It's they're not interesting. Because, like, think about it with Tony Montana from the, you know, say hello to my little friend. Why did we like Tony Montana? Well, the answer is we didn't like him, but he was damn interesting, and we resonated with him crawling up from being a dishwasher who got stepped on by all sorts of people and, you know, lived through things with the skin of his teeth. But then he gets up high and he gets powerful, but then he also gets egotistical. You know, but like, why do you follow Walter White? You know, Breaking Bad.
Two great examples.
Of course. So the point is, I will be able to notice right away, Anthony, if I'm going to say, look, I see what you're doing with this character, but I might, for example, I might say, it's fantastic, keep going. There might be other things where I'm like, ooh, I think I know where you're going with this, but he's not likable. He's not interesting. He doesn't say anything to grow. Be careful, because he's nobody going to want to follow him. Like, I'll be honest. I want to tell it not to say, ha, ha, ha. I want to say, dude, you can then be aware of those and go, ooh, Matthew noted some good points.
The ideas for improvement.
Well, and the thing is, you can sometimes solve it in a line. I've already done that with some of my characters where some people are like, dude, this thing is this, and I didn't like that. And it just seems like your character, this just doesn't da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, cool. I can solve that with changing this one line for him saying this to that. And then I did that and showed it to some of the people who complained, and they're like, oh my God, now I get it. Oh, okay, I see. I'm still, and I'm like, great, good. You know, it means that improvement, it can be there. And sometimes it's not as hard to solve the problem. The only time it's really bad is if you just never taken into consideration what your goal is for a character, and then they look like a mess on paper. They look maybe cool on camera because of their design, but you go, where are we going here? What are they doing? And if the answer is I have no idea, then the audience is going to also be like, I also have no idea. Right?
Yo, Ed, real quick, can you share my screen? I want to share the screen real quick. Can we do that?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, him? Because I was like, I have no idea.
No, but I can't. Can I share my? Can I share? I can send you to share screen, right?
What do you mean?
There we go. Can you get a better view of what the hell's going on here?
I think we just see you right now, Kevin.
Let me think.
Yeah, you got to do it on your end, right?
I have to. All right, hold on. Let me see.
I'm sharing my entire screen.
Yeah, dude, we're about to get a reveal. We set it up this way on purpose to give it like drama. We're like, yo, here it comes. It's coming.
All right. I don't know how to do that. It says screen sharing was canceled. Make sure you click share. So hit it again, Kev. Whatever you did, because I hit something wrong on my end. Oh, okay, there it is. Oh yeah.
Nice. Ooh, oh, you can see the detail.
Yeah,
like
yeah. Nice. This way.
See, look at all the shading that he does, and I love Kevin's work. I love it.
Yeah, this guy's looking like he really is in a band, right? He's got like purple hair. Got
holograms in back of him.
Crazy jacket. Oh,
yeah, I totally see the purple hair guy going, "Dirty days and the thunder team, dirty days and the thunder team."
Yeah, that's basically it. He's wild out. He's bugging out right now. He's going all in.
Yeah, look at that next frame. I love that where he's like,
That's funny.
Dude, he's given that blue chick from Fifth Element a run for her money.
Yo, this guy's story is pretty funny though, man. Like, he's kind of like he's acting like a band from the old days, like in this story, the old days of this story.
Oh, so he's like Steven Tyler.
Basically, yeah, and the band programmed to back him up.
That's awesome.
He's impersonating like Steven Tyler's gone. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
this guy's
dead. So this guy like took up the mantle.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's like even though they call him like imagine Steven Tyler was up there, like it's not Steven Tyler, but it's someone that said I'm Aerosmith. And the Aerosmith dudes in the background are holograms, and that dude's not even Steven Tyler. That's like what's going on.
No, I got you. Cool.
It's hard to understand.
So is he like Ruby Rod?
And the name of the band is Soul Gibson, which makes me laugh every damn time.
Soul Gibson. Oh my god, I love that.
And of course, Donovan hates him.
Yeah, well, that guy with the puss face there, he doesn't like this music.
Yeah, what gave it away, right?
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from that surprise. He doesn't like it.
Yeah, funny as hell.
So even the bands in Albatross have a backstory.
Well, that's good.
So
it's better than if they were just fluff,
Yeah. So come back next time for Albatross Junction, Comic Book Creation Live number 28. That's going to be on Kevin Cosme's YouTube channel. I'll put some links in the description. You guys can go back and watch the previous shows if you'd like to, or check out albatrossjunction.com for some information about our comic book that's going to be released in 2020 this year. So the Indiegogo campaign will be up shortly, and we'll have some more links when that comes online. Matt, do you have anything you want to
last words? You damn right I do. And I was going to say you're going to like it too, because I'll be like, I'm glad you said that. So shout outs to chat in the house, Mundo, Jim, ST, but y'all got Jim. Did I say that already? Oh, who else? I forgot. I'm scrolling so I can see. Shout outs to chat, but your homework is bring someone else next time, right? Each one of y'all got to bring someone else. You got to say, yo, you got to check out this show.
Definitely. And you know what else I could do too? I could bring somebody else in if anybody wants to come in. We can put the link out there, and you can join us. Tell us your ideas for Albatross. I know Jim gave us some ideas earlier about making this little lizard guy maybe more like insect-like, and I like that idea. So I'm kind of making him a little more insect-like, a little exoskeleton going on.
Nice. So did you have Wookiee Supremacy? Y'all know who that is?
I don't know by the name.
Oh, right, Wookiee. Shout outs to Wookiee, but no, I don't know.
It sounds like somebody from the Saber community, if I had to guess, but I don't know.
Nice. Looks like it's a legit tattoo he got on his arm or some shit.
I can't really do a good Chewy.
That's funny as hell.
Hey, Chewy,
fun, man.
don't get excited. The show's almost over. You can't just come on at the end and then just howl like that.
Yeah, Kev, you got a lot. You got a lot done on that page today. You got a lot.
Yeah, man. I was zoned out.
You did.
Funny as hell. See, I'm done, man. I've been up since 4, so I'm baked.
Damn.
All right, well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Everybody in the chat. Matthew, thanks for joining us. Go check out Novastar's videos.
Need an applaud track or some shit.
That's where I grew up on Novastar's videos.
Coming at you, coming through like Hans Wickling.
There you go.
You need to applaud something, man. You need some sound effects.
Oh, me? I got to do some sound effects?
I'm just saying in general.
Oh, I'd have to be like...
I want a sound effects board. Shit here. I got to get a sound effects board.
No.
That's our outro. That's our outro.
Something.
All right. Well, peace out. It was great to be back, and I'm happy to be here anytime. All I'm out here doing is writing on Diamond Dragons and promoting it. If you guys want to learn more about Diamond Dragons, see me and or do the search on Facebook. It's pretty obvious. diamonddragons.tail, I think, is what I had to put for the Facebook page, I think. But like, yeah, if you want to learn more about it, if you want to read a little bit of the script, I'm not going to give you 100% of it. It would ruin it. But yeah, you know what I mean? Come check it out. We're going to need support one day too, when we're going to try to really launch it. So we got to get like a dual crowdfunding, Albatross / Diamond Dragons crowdfunding, and be like, for every $1 that goes to Diamond Dragons, we put one into Alba or whatever, you know, like both, you know.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Save a lonely albatross child today.
Yeah. Well, it could be like that. I mean, I don't know. It's just a random idea. I don't know why I'm coming up with all these things. This is what happens, how my mind works. But that would be so cool if we said, look, if you donate to one project, 50% goes to that project, but the other 50% goes to the other one. So ha ha ha. So like if they donate $2, you're like, that's one to each or something. And I don't know. That would be pretty dope. Maybe we could get a lot of people crowded up and be like, yo, what's better than one project of your friends and your associates and your inspirations out there to getting done than two for the price of one?
There you go. There you go. All right, guys. Well, have a great night, and thanks again. We will do this soon. Come back and find us next time on Kev Cosme's channel. Subscribe on both Space Windu and Kevin Cosme and Novastar, for that matter.
Yeah.
All right, bros.
All right, get some sleep, Kev. Same for you, Anthony. Peace out and have fun with your LED sabers.
Yeah, definitely. Have fun, bright saber fans.
Ha.
All right, man.
Nice.